across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your genial host all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 peerless hours of news, views and distinguished debate. Get involved, get it off your chest, get on the phone and get on the show by calling me on 0344 499 1000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and you have my word. I'll play your message out. Can't say fairer than that. It is Thursday, May the 22nd. Here's what's coming up. National outrage over the continued incarceration of jailed for a tweet mum Ray Connelly is escalating after the shock rejection of her appeal against her grotesquely disproportionate sentence of 31 months behind bars. Appeal Court Judge Lord Justice Holroyd announced there was no possible argument that her prison sentence for a tweet was, and I quote, manifestly excessive. Utter rubbish. Of course, 2 years and 7 months for a few hurty words on Twitter is manifestly excessive. In fact, it is obscenely excessive. This poor woman, with not so much as a speeding ticket to her name before she took to social media in an emotional fury amid the Southport riots, should never have been banged up. She'd lost her own little boy tragically just a year earlier and felt deeply for the poor mums whose young daughters were so horrifically slaughtered when that little kid's dance class turned to terror. She knows her intemperate post was over the top. That's why she deleted and apologised. That she was ever caged is a stain on British justice. That she must stay locked up until at best August is a disgrace and a scandal. Tonight, in a Political Asylum exclusive, her heartbroken husband Raymond, who has been forced to bring up their 12-year-old daughter alone, joins me in a few minutes to tell his traumatic story. Surely Lucy should have been freed. Why did she get a longer sentence than many of the actual rioters? Why do most sex offenders get less time in jail than Lucy? 0344 499 1000. In other news, the new legal migration figures are out, and guess what? The number of people jammed into chronically overcrowded Britain grew by, drumroll, 431,000 last year. Surely, thanks to the Tories, that is significantly down on the previous year. But getting on for 500,000 is still the equivalent of the population of Leeds. So better, but definitely not good. How long can we sustain allowing so many foreigners to come and live here? 0344 499 1000. Also, Labour's headline-hitting plan to chemically castrate sex offenders was a successful smokescreen to cover up the shocking truth that the new sentencing review adds up to a government that is soft on crime and soft on the causes of crime. A total ban on jail terms less than a year and 2/3 reductions for good behaviour. In other words, lighter punishments and a charter for more and more crime. 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, our gormless globalist Prime Minister has signed away the strategically important Chagos Islands in a stupefying agreement that continues to make no sense whatsoever. I mean that. We give this South Sea archipelago to China's best friend Mauritius, and for the privilege of handing over the Chagos, we pay Mauritius billions of pounds. I mean, eh? Even by 2 tiers low standards, is this the worst deal ever? 0344 499 1000. Plus, after a record 820 migrants crossed the channel unlawfully yesterday, a top data expert predicts that the tally for this year will soar over the 50,000 mark. That compared with 36,000 last year. So, just how is 2 tiers smash the gangs strategy going? 0344 499 1000. And finally, Kinsey Schofield, live in LA with all the latest news from Planet Meghan. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And I'm very pleased that he's agreed to join us, so a warm welcome to the show. Lucy Connelly's husband, Ray Connelly. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you.
First of all, let me just say, and I know I speak for millions of people, how deeply sorry we are for you. How our sympathy knows no bounds. That decision on Monday in the appeal court, I think, was a national disgrace, a stain on British justice. Your poor wife, in my view, should never have gone to jail in the first place. And the fact she's now got to stay in jail, and that ridiculous judge said there's no argument to suggest that Lucy Connelly's sentence was manifestly excessive. That is utter nonsense. It was manifestly excessive, wasn't it, Ray?
Of course. I mean, I felt our barrister and Lucy, they were absolutely brilliant. They were in putting their case for a change in the sentence, a reduction. I was so proud of Lucy when she was under interrogation, under cross-examination from the prosecution. The barrister presented a really good, strong case, and I went in at 50-50, and when I thought, oh my God, we're gonna win this. They were so good. Lucy was brilliant, and the barrister was absolutely fantastic. And I thought, we're going to get this. But then when they said, we're going to have a look at it and give it a couple of days and then write to you the verdict, I went back to Lucy's applications for Rottle and home detention curfew and how that was always delayed. The other girls would get it within 2 or 3 days, but Lucy's was always a week, 2 weeks. And then it was almost like somebody else was had to check it first and then denied it. Yeah. So, but I did think, even on the morning when they were going to write the letter, I still think the barrister and Lucy had done more than enough to outline the...
Well, I think, Ray, everybody or the vast majority of people in this country think the same. That surely, I don't think anybody in this country, a free Western democracy, should ever be sent to jail for hurty words, things they write on social media. Now, just to reiterate Lucy's story, we all know what she tweeted. She was very emotionally upset at the time. She realised it was over the top. She called for mass deportations and burning of migrants and all this sort of thing. Now, nobody is condoning that, least of all you or her. She apologised. She pulled that down. She deleted it. Frankly, that should have been the end of the matter. She was hundreds of miles away from the actual riots. I mean, what do you think about the fact, Ray, that she got 31 months, considerably longer than quite a few of the actual rioters? People throwing bricks at coppers, people trying to set fire to mosques, people trying to set fire to asylum seekers' hotels. Actual rioters got considerably less than Lucy got. You must be furious about that, because I know I am.
Yeah, I was really disappointed, but I kind of looked back when, obviously, I didn't even find out until about 8 days later when my son texted me and said it's all kicking off on Twitter. And then Lucy said, it's a post what I deleted like 8 days ago, and it's just come back to haunt me. And then she just said, what shall I do? She said, so I put an apology, but she was in such a state because she was under attack. And then I looked at it and I could see when my son sent me the original, what they'd been put on, they were tagging like the local Labour MPs. Look at this, so, and I thought they're going to come after us. And unfortunately for Lucy, the Tory councillor's wife, it was a juicy opportunity, which the government couldn't ignore.
Yeah, do you feel that? You're a Tory councillor in Northampton, aren't you? A lot of us in my business, we've been discussing this. If you were a Labour councillor, if Lucy was a lady of the left, I bet you her treatment would have been considerably more lenient. Do you feel that?
Well, only because obviously I see on the I mean, the only comparison I can do is with the Labour councillor Ricky Jones, where he's behind a large mob of people and he's calling for the far right
to be
have their
exterminated,
throats
wasn't
cut.
it? Yeah.
So obviously, you know, he's at home now with his family. Lucy's in prison. I mean, he's got his sentence in August. Who knows? But certainly, there's certainly a difference in that process for him and that's for sure. That's the only comparison I can.
Well, I've got another comparison for you. We're going to be covering a story a little later in this show. I'm going to be talking to my friend Alex Phillips about this. A guy in Barrow, I mean, this is just one example of an ongoing syndrome that sex offenders get incredibly light sentences. I mean, for example, I'd like to know why your wife is behind bars and the child sex abuser Hugh Edwards, former BBC Star newsreader, is not. Now, the story we're going to be covering a little later, Ray, is this. A guy yesterday at Preston Town Court, he was a refugee, a migrant, subjected a poor lady in Barrow Town Centre to a horrific sex attack, a horrific sex ordeal, and she has had to wait 2 years while this guy kept denying it. No, no, no. He finally, at the last minute, in the manner of these things, yesterday, suddenly pleaded guilty. And he got, so that poor victim has had to wait 2 years for this. He got 9 months. 9 months. Your wife got 31 months. This is disgusting, I think, don't you?
I feel sorry for the victim. She's had to put up with that for that long, and then to find out when justice is served, he gets 9 months. I mean, he'll be out in a couple of months. It's just absolutely awful. And obviously, you know, I haven't got a lot of knowledge of the justice system because I haven't really, me and Lucy, we've got nothing really. But whatever it is, it certainly needs an overhaul, that's for sure. It does.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah,
rubbish.
It does need an overhaul. Rubbish is the right word. Listen, Ray, can I... now, what we're talking about here is the shocking reality of two-tier justice, which is a thing. We know this because of what we're talking about now. It is bizarre, frankly, that serious sex offenders are getting seriously lighter sentences than your wife and other people. 12 people out of the 385 or so who went to jail with indecent haste after those summer riots were jailed for nasty words they put on social media. 12 people. I don't think anybody ever in a Western democracy should go to jail for what they write on social media. So 12 people went to jail. Now, that in itself is a stain on British justice. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, continues to justify what happened. And I wonder what you thought about his reaction the other day. We'll play this to you now. When he was quizzed about this, just after Lucy had learned, to your horror, to your dismay, to her dismay, that she will be remaining behind bars. Have a look at the Prime Minister now.
I'm not across the details of the particular case, but let me give you the principles that I would apply. Firstly, I'm strongly in favour of free speech. We've had free speech in this country for a very, very long time, and we protect it fiercely. I'm equally, though, against incitement to violence against other people. That has long been an offence in our country, and rightly so. And so I say, don't know the details of this case, but free speech, yes. Incitement to violence, no.
Let me tell you, Ray, anybody who presides over the incarceration of people for tweets, for what they put on social media, does not believe in free speech. Keir Starmer is the enemy of free speech for what he did to your wife and other people who didn't deserve to go to jail after those riots. Your wife wasn't even in the damn riots. But what did you think? I mean, I'll tell you what I think about what Keir Starmer said then? I'm not across the details of that case. Your wife's case, as you well know, has been all over the front pages, all over the news bulletins, on the television and the radio, all over social media. When he said, I'm not across the details of the case, that, Ray, was a bare-faced lie that insults our intelligence and I think is a tremendous insult to you and Lucy. What did you feel when you saw the Prime Minister pretending he didn't know anything about Lucy's case?
I was at work and they were just laughing about it, just thinking, where's he been for the last 7 months, 8 months? You know, he said, your wife's raised picture's been all over the place. I mean, he must be the only person in the world probably who doesn't know. I was getting emails and text messages from Australia and letters from Australia, Canada, America, all over the place, across Europe.
Donald Trump was talking about it the other day. Donald Trump was talking about it a couple of days ago. You know, you're getting talked about in the White House. So what the Prime Minister there was doing, his publicity advisors had told him to feign ignorance and pretend that the easiest way out of this tricky situation is to pretend you don't know about it. And as I say, that insulted the nation's intelligence. He was lying. And again, I think that's a disgrace. He owes us the decency of at least talking about this case. Can I ask you a few personal questions? How is Lucy after the appeal failed? How has she taken it?
Well, obviously, I got a phone call in the morning to say, look, it was a thumbs down, Ray. So then pretty much straight afterwards, Lucy rang me up and said, have I heard anything? And I said, look, it's a thumbs down, Lucy. Obviously, she was disappointed, but because she put on such a really good performance to the at court, and also the barrister did. I thought we'd done it more than enough to have that sentence reviewed. But obviously, when they said it's going to be in writing in a couple of days, then I thought, here we go again. Because all Lucy's, everything Lucy had ever done with Rottles, home detention curfews, it had been very supportive from the probation teams. But then when Lucy said, where is it? All the girls are getting all their Rottle applications back. I've not heard anything. I was still being looked at. And obviously it was Lucy seemed to be a week, 2 weeks later. So as soon as that happened, I thought, here we go. But I thought, even then on the morning, I thought, I still think we've done it. I'm going to pick Lucy up today. There's no way, but I'm thinking it like almost like she's in front of a jury. I knew if she was in front of a jury and
she'd be out. She'd be out. Yeah, she'd be on there. So she was a little bit upset, but then she rang back about an hour later and she was upset because I think the other inmates and some of the prison officers and staff, they were pretty much a bit shocked, and it kind of like hit home to Lucy. As injustice here, because I think, like, especially when the prison officers went, oh my God, Lucy, we thought you were sure to be going home now. You know, then she went back an hour, they're all running around all over the place trying to help Lucy out. The officers are, and the inmates, and even the governor. So it shocked all of them. So, but it looks as if I gather that the prediction is Lucy, we hope, will be released in August. So at least I suppose that is within sight, and hopefully she can taste freedom again then. But she's kind of okay. She's keeping her spirits up.
Yeah, she bounces back quite quickly. You know, at the end of the day, she's not. She can do this. I mean, you know, she gets on with all the girls now. She never used to. I mean, they were quite hard on her, but you know, but now they've got to know Lucy. They've just said, look, we know you're not that person, because obviously, they're not shoplifters where she is. Well,
yeah. Look, let's get this on the record, because I know you've said this before. Look, we know why Lucy did that tweet. Emotions were running high, particularly for her. You lost your little boy a year earlier. She empathised. She felt deeply for the poor mums who lost their little girls in that horrific incident, the slaughter in the dance hall. So she was particularly het up about it. So she put that tweet out, which of course has been labelled incitement to racial unrest, hasn't it, or something. Well, she's not a racist, is she?
Well, I mean, the people in the well, I mean,
I think the answer's no, Ray.
of course not. I mean, I asked, I know that, but I thought, well, I'll check the people who do know about racism, because I work in an environment where we call each other blind, and then we're drinking out the same bottle. And these people are from all over the world, Russia, Ghana, and whatever. And we argue all day long, and then have a drink. So I did ask people who would know about racism, and the people who have Lucy's looked after the kids. So I went to the Bangladeshi community, the people and the Nigerians, people who would know about racism, and they wrote glowing references for Lucy. And to this day onwards, even yesterday, they texted me to say that they want, their kids can, as soon as Lucy's out, please come and see her. Even when they've even visited her in the prison. I mean, like, it's, I loved it when the boys turned up and they're like, oh, and we're here to see our English mum. And that's Lucy.
That's fun. So is she still not allowed, day releases to come back and see your kid? Is she still like banged up completely, or any chance that she could be reunited with her daughter?
No, they've been all denied as she's unsuitable for
unsuitable. I mean, it's like they're acting like Lucy is a danger to society. What a nonsensical statement that is. How has it been for you, Ray, bringing up your daughter alone?
It's been, but we're not too bad. We're a good little team, but obviously this is probably knocked my daughter a little bit. So what I've done, because she's got bad anxiety anyway, and she kept saying, oh, when's mummy's letter coming? When's mummy's letter coming? And I said, look, we're just waiting now. And obviously she said, how did it all go? And I said, pretty good. I'm confident, I reckon, I think we're going to go, and I think we have a good chance. But I was mindful. I said, but, if not, we're going to see her Sunday. We're going to go to a family day. Then it's only a couple of months away, and she'll be here and whatever. But she'll be thinking, she'll be missing my 13th birthday with the date I gave her. But what I've done is I've sent her to live with Lucy's mum, because she has been really having a real tough time. So I've sent her to go and live with Lucy's mum, with Lucy and Lucy's sisters there, just to give her a little bit more support, because she has really been struggling.
Yeah, well, it must have been very, very hard for you, and you must give your kid our best, and especially give Lucy our best. Now, this is very important. You've got to, obviously, your legal battles require money, and also you deserve money, to be honest with you. You've got a GoFundMe page going, haven't you? What's the address of that?
Oh, crikey.
I'm
not too sure. I just... my friend said...
hang on. I'm just being told. I think it's Democracy 3.0.
That's it. Yeah.
There you go. So I'm helping you out here. Democracy 3.0.com. Okay.
I'll just let them do it. I mean...
Yeah. So...
because a lot of people have been texting me because they feel helpless.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I've just said, no, I'll be fine. But obviously it is tough. Without Lucy's wage, and I've kind of just left all her bills to one side for her to sort out. So, but then
well, that's something for her to look forward to, isn't it? Coming back to have to pay all her bills.
Of course. I had to sell my car as well to pay for the original start for my legal fees and whatever.
Blimey.
But yeah, it will help, and it will give her a little bit of space, breathing space when she comes home, so she can spend more time with our daughter, and sort that disconnect out.
Okay. Well, listen, Ray, we'll keep in touch, and I hope Lucy gets out sooner than August. As soon as she does, you've both got to come on my show, and hopefully we'll talk to you before that. Keep us posted with the way. Presumably you will try to get her out before August, but you never know, do you?
Oh, well, I'm trying. I've just started talking about getting prison expert solicitors now to deal with Rottles, to see why they were deemed not acceptable, because she felt that she gave strong exceptional circumstances.
Of course there were.
Because obviously she wrote the Rottles out for some of the other girls in there, and they were very, very minor compared to the rottle applications Lucy was putting in, but they were getting them passed off, and Lucy's was like,
look, Lucy. Many people will agree with me. As far as I'm concerned, she's a political prisoner. Her sentence is grotesque, it's obscene, imposed upon her by a prime minister, effectively, who was trying to teach what he said were far-right thugs a lesson. It's as simple as that. Everybody knows that, Ray. So obviously our best to you, our best to your daughter, and especially our best to Lucy. Do pass on our best wishes to her, and we'll keep in touch. Ray, thank you so much. Good to talk to you.
thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, mate. That's Ray Connelly, Lucy Connelly's husband. We'll go straight to break and discuss that and a few other issues as soon as we come back. Stay where you are.
Point is, they have now demonstrated to the world in this negotiation, as in so many others, that under any kind of pressure they roll over. This is a really, really negative signal they're sending to the world, just as we're seeing with a U-turn on winter fuel allowance because their backbenchers got a little bit shirty. Keir Starmer and the Labour government do not have the resolve to act in the national best interest.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, listening patiently to that interview with Lucy Connelly's husband, Raymond, then, was Philip Kilsley from the New Culture Forum. Welcome to the show, Philip. Just before we move on to a few other issues, your thoughts?
Hi, Kev. Yeah, that was a really, really interesting conversation. I mean, she is, as you say, she is a political prisoner. It was a tweet. It was hurty words. We've got paedophiles walking around free. There's something about the tweet which is kind of quite interesting. It wasn't actually incitement to violence. It was, she said she didn't mind if that happened. Now, I'm not condoning what she said. It's a dreadful tweet, but it isn't incitement to violence. It's something slightly different. And so that hasn't been picked up on that much, but there are so many mitigating circumstances here. She'd lost a child. She was massively triggered about anything to do with children. She had PTSD. They knew that, and yet still there she is with 31 months in prison. It's utterly extraordinary.
And then that ludicrous judge, the appeal court judge, Lord Justice Holroyd, saying there's no possible argument that 31 months for a few hurty words on Twitter was, what was it, manifestly excessive.
Manifestly.
There are, hey, Holroyd, your lordship, there are millions of arguments that is manifestly excessive. Of course it's manifestly excessive. Sometimes these beaks just talk gobbledygook, don't they? Self-satisfied gobbledygook.
Well, you know, because the long march through the institution has infected the judiciary, but he had to wait because Starmer wanted the full weight of the law thrown at her. He wanted the harshest sentence absolutely possible, and he's on record saying that before she was actually convicted.
Yeah, unless we're going to move on now, but unless anyone's in any doubt, when Keir Starmer pretended, I'm not across the details of that case, that was a lie, a straight lie, a flat-out lie to the nation, and that is in itself a disgrace. Your thoughts on our lying Prime Minister who pretended he didn't know about the most famous case in this country? How dare he? How dare he talk down to us like this? How dare he treat us like morons, insult our intelligence? 03444991000. The other problem that he's got on his hands as we move on, Philip, is migration. The new official immigration figures are out from the Office of National Statistics, and the truth is, the numbers are heading in an encouraging direction. They're going down. But last year, 2024, these are the figures we're supposed to go, yeah, great, we're really doing it. It's really... So last year, 948,000 foreigners were allowed into the country. They moved to the UK, nearly a million. But in the manner of these things, 517,000 left. They went back to their own countries, which leaves us with a net increase of the population of this already chronically overcrowded island of 431,000. That's the equivalent of the population of Leeds. And there's no real sign, that this is going to plummet anytime soon. This is not particularly good news. It's better than we could have hoped for, but better doesn't mean it's good.
Well, it's kind of not dead, but on life support.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. I think 450,000, a population the size of Leeds, it's not just about numbers. It's actually about the impact on culture. Right, that is a major thing, and we're seeing that right across the country. Don't forget, this is a Prime Minister who has stood for an ethos, a philosophy that has been about mass immigration. Now, mass immigration has been massively dangerous to this country. The far leftists, even the Tory party, the Uni party, have let wave after wave after wave of immigrants come into the country. Now, I'm not against some immigration. I'm from an immigrant background myself, but mass immigration can never be any good. We're talking about crime later on in the show. Sex crime, drugs, gangs, all of this is massively linked to mass immigration. We're talking about the balkanisation of this country. Again, that is massively linked to mass immigration. And if you are denigrating British identity, British culture, in favour of every other identity and every other culture, many of which are absolutely hostile to Britain, then you are in real trouble. 450,000 is just staggering. He was compared to Enoch Powell, wasn't he,
an island of strangers.
Yes, but Enoch Powell could never have envisaged those kind of numbers. He could never even have thought about that.
I checked out his Rivers of Blood speech the other day, and I think I may have got this number wrong, but I think he warned that if we're not careful, he said, if we're not careful, we may be getting as many as 50,000 foreigners entering this country every year. Well, if only.
cut to 1997 and then cut to 2025. It's just extraordinary, isn't it? It's the equivalent of driving at 100 miles an hour into a brick wall, okay?
That speech, the Enoch Powell Rivers of Blood speech, much demonised, and in some respects it deserves to be demonised, but I recommend you read it. It is interesting, put it that way. Listen, we're going to break now. When we come back, we're going to tackle my favourite dinner party topic, conversation topic at nice dinner parties. It's castrating sex offenders. That next, stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, Labour. You remember Tony Blair? Tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. Keir Starmer, soft on crime, soft on the causes of crime. Now, in a marvellous PR exercise, got to hand it to the government, they've managed to overshadow the truth about what's happened today. The truth is they've come up with a new sentencing review that essentially means there'll be much lighter punishments for all crimes. And there won't be anybody sent to jail for less than for the jail term less than a year. So sentences of 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever, will cease to exist. And prisoners will get, far more prisoners will get, or non-prisoners will get tags. There'll be punishments. This will teach them that people will be banned from going to football matches. People will be banned from social media. That'll teach them. Don't you rape anyone ever again. Otherwise, we won't let you go to football matches. That's basically it. However, in a masterstroke, they also announced that sex offenders will be chemically castrated. That's the front page of The Sun. Great scoop for The Sun, to be fair, if you're watching. Pedos to be castrated. Now, this is the, Philip, the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is keen to make drugging sex offenders to dull their dangerous urges mandatory. At the moment, apparently, there's a pilot scheme in the southwest where about 20 prisoners are voluntarily taking part in this. She wants to expand it across the country. I mean, my point, I don't think it'll ever happen. I'm not sure where I stand on it. But I know what this is. This is just a smokescreen for the real story. Yeah,
it's a smokescreen for the real story. I mean, I think the real story here is well, it's the general softness on crime, but it's this year-long thing, right? So if for the crimes that you would get 6, 8, 9, 10 months for, or 12 months for, those are the crimes that really impact on our quality of life. Okay, so take for example the shoplifting thing. Okay, no one bothers about shoplifting anymore. And I was in Waitrose not long ago, just in London, in King's Cross, and someone was just picking stuff up and just walked out with it completely, and nobody did anything because people were frightened of doing anything, because there's no comeback if that offender is violent. But two, it just doesn't matter. Shoplifting doesn't matter anymore. So it's about this idea of civil society. It's about this idea of public safety. It's about this idea of people being able to go into town centres. People can't do that anymore because they are frightened, because there is no recourse. People can just break the law. They know that the government, the police, the judiciary are going to be completely soft on crime. They are on the side of the criminals. They are not on the side of the public. And things are falling apart. It's almost like I remember as a little child in the 1970s when you walked around and it was grotty and it was dirty and nobody cared and everybody was on strike and it was economic chaos. It's exactly the same thing. When nobody cares and nobody's punished for crime, that's when things really fall apart.
Absolutely. Now, this is the work of the Independent Sentencing Review. These are the do-gooders, the Guardian readers, who recently recommended that ethnic people of colour, get more lenient treatment in the British justice system than white British people. So that's the kind of... Unfortunately, Shabana Mahmood, to her credit, slapped that down. But that was their idea. They are being led, if you like, by the world's wettest politician, Labour's favourite Tory, David Gauke, and he is recommending dramatically reducing the number of crooks being locked up. That will include the shock banning of all jail terms of under a year. Over the past year, apparently 45,000 people were banged up for less than 12 months. A lot of people say, oh, you know, that's no good. These sentences, there's no evidence they work. They damn well do. I'll tell you who you give those 9-month sentences to? Middle-class people. You stick a Just Stop Oil protester behind bars for 9 months, they stop being Just Stop Oil protesters. You stick any middle-class person in jail for a short, sharp shock sentence, it will work. Now, she calls it, Shahpan Mahmood calls it, this new system, which is loads of tags, as I say, sentences like social media use restriction, forcible rehab, unpaid community work, curfews, football match bans even for crimes not connected with football. She brilliant, isn't it, folks? She calls this system prison outside of prison. What I've written down, and I'm going to repeat what I wrote down, what a load of crap. I mean, that's it, isn't it?
Well, I mean, in this country, this is about identity politics, isn't it? And this is about giving certain groups a free ride and coming down very heavily on other groups. We've just been talking about Lucy Connelly, who is a white, kind of pretty middle class woman, and the wife of a Tory councillor. Okay,
therein lies her problem.
Therein lies her problem.
Yeah.
But this idea of equality before the law has just gone by the wayside. So I was talking before about quality of life. This is actually publicly dangerous, because once people feel they've got nothing to lose, once people feel they are not going to be treated equally when they go up before the beak, then we are in real problems, and then we're in the area of civil disobedience, civil disorder, but we're in the the low levels of civil war. Actually, that's where we're going with this.
Yeah, and what this is sort of wrapping up. I mean, the truth is, this review of sentencing is all to do with the fact we haven't got enough places in prison. The prisons are overcrowded, so they're trying to come up with new and imaginative ways to punish people. But if you don't send people to prison, once they don't have to go to jail, it's a much lighter punishment, however you wrap it up. It really is. So I would say that this is a charter for more and more crime, because the punishments are lighter and lighter. This is no good, folks, right?
No, I mean, they're interested in. They're not interested in policing the streets. They're not interested in criminals. They're actually interested in policing tweets, as we've seen. Okay, this is about keeping a certain demographic down and letting the other people do what they want, because politically they don't mind so much. It's the people who they don't like, the people they want to keep in check. It's about that. It's absolute political. It's two-tier Keir. It's no idea Keir.
Absolutely. By the way, I was interested in Ray Connelly's interview with me when he said, Lucy, she's banged up with these shoplifters. I said, they sent some shoplifters to jail? Now, that's an exclusive. But listen, we'll go to break now, and we'll talk about Keir Starmer. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has launched an extraordinary attack on Keir Starmer. This follows the tragic shooting in Washington of a young Jewish couple who just they just got themselves engaged. They just got engaged, and some nutter shouting "Free Palestine" shot them dead. And Benjamin Netanyahu is in a rage. He's basically blaming Keir Starmer for that tragedy. We'll talk about that after these messages.
one of our most important bases. Its location allows that power projection from America and Britain. It participated very much so in the Afghan campaigns in Iraq and so forth. Absolutely important. But ultimately, Donald Trump, who focuses on the art of the deal, his team, in fact, I was in America last week discussing this with the State Department. They've looked at the legal details. I hear what you say, but you're then going into a new place where you're actually going against international law.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Philip Kilsey from the New Culture Forum. News is always a fast-moving feast, Philip, and this has just cropped up literally in the last half an hour. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has furiously rounded on Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron and Mark Carney, obviously Macron of France and Carney of Canada, saying that they are on the wrong side of humanity. He is furious after the shooting of two young Jewish people, a Jewish couple in Washington, by someone shouting Free Palestine. He's essentially accusing these Western liberals of fueling that kind of hatred, and he believes that that Britain and these other countries should be on Israel's side. Of course, Philip, we saw David Lammy in all his pomp, in a real fury yesterday in the Commons, denouncing the horror of what's going on and saying that unless Israel started letting aid in to Gaza, that Britain would start imposing serious sanctions on Israel. Now, the reason that Israel isn't letting aid in is twofold. One, lest we forget, there's still the little matter of 50 hostages that Hamas will not release. Until they release those hostages, I think Israel is justified in continuing this conflict. And the other reason they don't let aid in is because when it gets in, what happens is Hamas nick it and they start selling it. They apparently sell it across the border to Egyptians and Jordanians, among others. So that's what's going on. Netanyahu basically saying, these kind of shootings in Washington are your fault, Starmer. There's no love lost between Israel and their old ally Britain at the moment, is there?
No, I mean, David Lammy essentially sided with Hamas. If you are punishing Israel in this conflict, then you are siding with a prescribed terror group, OK? It's as simple as that. If you characterise Jews as settler colonialists, if you say that their suffering is somehow less historically than anybody else's, if you say they own the media, if you say they've got very powerful lobby groups, you are anti-Semitic, and Keir Starmer's government is absolutely behind all of those anti-Semitic tropes. And David Lammy is coming out and turning all of that kind of thing into policy. Let's not forget, October the 7th, 1,200 people murdered, maimed, raped, brutally, the most brutal pogrom, OK? And it's just so emotional, this, for me, because my partner is Israeli. And so all of that stuff is happening, and yet who's to blame somehow? It's the Jews who are to blame. The Jews who are to blame for their own victimhood, and they're the only people. They're the only people. If it were any other minority, if it was any other religion, of course everybody would be behind them, and rightly so. But because it's Jews, Jews are different. And if you know, Syria, Yemen, all of those places, no Jews, no news.
Left-wingers don't like Jews.
Left-wingers don't like Jews.
They don't like Jews. It's as simple as that. So I give you Jeremy Corbyn, and frankly, I give you David Lammy as well. My God, was he enthusiastic about his condemnation of Israel. After October the 7th, both him and Starmer, basically it was like, yeah, well, we stand with Israel. You know, their right to defend them. So that was about it. I mean, the correct sentiments, I'll give them that. But right now they're in condemning Israel mode. Their effusiveness knows no bounds. They're loving this. And Netanyahu has noted that, and he's sick to death of it. And I think I am too, and I sense you are, Philip, as well. Let's move on very quickly. We haven't got too much time. We've obviously had to squeeze things into this hour because of that interview with Ray Connelly earlier. Keir Starmer, we're going to talk about his deal to give away the Chagos later on in the show. So his negotiation skills are exposed so blatantly with that ridiculous deal he did with the EU earlier in the week. Look, my Brexit reset. Well, what's he done? What he did there was he's agreed for us, Britain, to once again give Brussels billions of pounds for the privilege of taking their rules, being bossed around by their millions of diktats, rules and regulations. They love regulations in Brussels. Hopeless deal. We got nothing back. Nothing back. I don't know why he did it. Millions share my horror at that, and that was, of course, Brexit betrayal, a betrayal of the 17.4 million people who voted to leave the EU. Keir Starmer doesn't like that, so he decided to take us back in. We've rejoined, only now we don't have a vote. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? So we are literally now just a rule taker, and we're not allowed to be a rule maker. Brilliant. Now, the other deal he did, the Chagos Islands, is pathetic as well, but we'll talk about that later. What I wanted to talk to you about, Philip, is the deal he's done quietly with the World Health Organization. He signed a contract, this gormless globalist, for that is what he is. He signed a contract giving the China-friendly World Health Organization the power to recommend lockdowns in the event of another sort of COVID-style crisis. In other words, in his world, he wants us to take WHO instructions again. Now, they were disastrous last time, and what I can't understand, I mean, apart from the fact I wouldn't touch the World Health Organization with a barge pole, what I can't understand is the way our body politic, including Starmer, cannot accept what is obviously the truth. Lockdowns don't work.
Well, I was just thinking what you were saying before. He's a globalist, and of course we get these terrible deals before we go onto the World Health Organization. We get these terrible deals because he doesn't like Britain. He can't. You can't negotiate for something you don't actually like when you're against someone who you love. You know, so that's one thing. If you think back to the lockdowns of the COVID era, they did so much incredible damage, especially to children. We don't know yet the full ramifications.
Well, we're still suffering. We're suffering economically.
Exactly.
We're suffering culturally. We're suffering educationally. Kids, I say, a generation of kids were abandoned. The COVID crisis, it isn't the COVID crisis that left this country in such a mess. And in fact, the world,
the lockdown.
It was the policies that the then gormless government imposed on us. I could give you what the COVID inquiry, by the way, COVID inquiry, the estimations of what that costs, that pointless inquiry, that endless, pointless, packed with pompous lawyers inquiry, estimates of how much it's costing range between £145,000 a day and £300,000 a day. £300,000 a day. This is what it should conclude. I could do it now. We massively overreacted at a not particularly lethal virus. The lockdowns were a disaster, and we must never do that again. There you go.
Absolutely. And never in my lifetime had I ever come across anything like that before. As I said before, we don't know the ramifications of this. We don't know what it's done to children. We don't know what it's done to socialising. People don't connect anymore in the same way that we used to. It was a different world before lockdown. It has nothing to do with COVID. It's got everything to do with how we responded to it.
Absolutely, exactly right. It's the policies. Nothing COVID wasn't it? It was the policies that we responded to COVID with that did the damage. So it's the fault of our half-wit politicians. It really, really is. And I saw Boris Johnson yesterday in the Mail screaming away about Starmer's Stasi Britain. He's turning this country into a police state. Well, I felt like saying, well, Boris, you started it, mate. It recalibrated our attitude to law and order, and suddenly governments thought it was okay for the police to go around arresting people for what they said.
It legitimated the fascist state, didn't it? It tried to legitimate authoritarian law and order, and that's the left, actually. It's not so much the right, it's the left. That's what the left want to do. Big government, they want to control people. They want to control what people think. It's really frightening. And the World Health Organization, possibly the most sinister organization, if they are essentially working the government like puppets, then that is really frightening.
And that's what Keir Starmer has just signed us up to. So in 1 week, the Brexit reset disaster, the Brexit betrayal, he signed that. And by the way, you know, I keep repeating this analogy somebody made to me. It's really accurate. He had a press conference, staged a press conference the night before saying, I'm definitely going to sign this deal. Yeah. And then he went into negotiations. It's like going into a second-hand car dealers and say, before you try to sell me any of these old rickety cars, I just want to tell you, I'm definitely going to buy one.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
And France wanted 10 years, and they came out with 12.
We were under the assumption that we were going to get a four-year fishing extension, and when Ursula and the gang sat down, they said we want 12 years, and Keir just went, yeah, fine. So we had the Brexit deal, the Chagos deal, and the World Health Organization deal in one single week. That gormless, globalist, lying idiot Keir Starmer sold this country right down the river. It's brilliant, isn't it?
And the more of this stuff he does, the more we see, the better it is. People should be really alarmed. People should be frightened. People should be angry. You've got to change. We've got to vote these people out. I know people are disillusioned with democracy. They're disillusioned with the system. Fair enough, but it's the system we've got. We need to get rid of this.
Yeah, we've got 4 years, but don't forget, make the right vote at the next election. Philip Kilsey from the New Culture Forum, thank you so much. After this break, we'll be joined by Alex Phillips. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's excellent political asylum. I hope you heard my interview earlier with Lucy Connelly's heartbroken, devastated husband, Raymond Connelly. She remains in prison for posting some hurty words during the Southport riots on social media. Wasn't a very nice tweet. 31 months. Shouldn't be in jail at all, should she? Nobody in this country, this is a free Western democracy, nobody should go to jail for what they write on Twitter. Do me a favour. It's just, it's obscene. It's obscene. 31 months. Now, this brings me to the point. Paedophiles, rapists, terrorists are all regularly given much shorter sentences than Lucy Connelly. And I want to discuss one particular case that I think may well annoy you. It happened yesterday at Preston Crown Court. Well, before we go more into the details of that story, let's bring in my very special guest for the next half an hour, in fact, my old friend, my old sparring partner, TV wife, Alex Phillips. Hello, Alex.
Hello. We've had the most sort of successful, long-lasting and non-acrimonious divorce of any sort of former husband and wife in history.
Yeah. Ours was always a relationship. I never realised, I never thought it would work, but it sort of does. God knows why. Well, listen, thanks for joining us, but I wanted to run this by you, Alex. It's one particular case that highlights the absurdity, the horror, really, of what's happened to people like Lucy Connelly, who is doing 31 months for a few hurty words on social media. We had her husband, Raymond Connelly, on earlier in the show. Now, yesterday at Preston Crown Court, a refugee and a migrant called Chum Nurien, he appeared in court. He subjected a terrified woman to a horrifying sexual assault in Barrow-in-Furness, in the town centre, in the early hours of the morning. He is today, what happened was, in the manner of these things, he kept denying, no. Will you plead guilty? No. For 2 years, he's refused to plead guilty, and this always happens. At the last moment, they plead guilty so they can get a lighter sentence. So at the very last moment, in Preston Crown Court, Chum Nurien suddenly pleaded guilty to this horrific offence, subjecting a poor victim to a terrifying sexual ordeal in the middle of Barrow-in-Furness town centre in the small hours. He got 9 months. He got 9 months. By the way, that, of course, being less than a year under the current regulations, means he will not face deportation. Lucy Connelly found out this week that her appeal against her grotesquely disproportionately long sentence had failed. She will stay in jail. What the hell is going on, Alex?
I have no idea what's going on. And the reason this smites so deeply is because when we think of justice, when we think about a crime and the sort of punishment that someone should have levelled against them, we think about the impact on other people. We think about lasting damage. We think about the fact that if a woman or a young girl has been brutally raped or abused, that will be with her and wreck the rest of her life. That is pure evil. Then you think about Lucy Connelly writing this tweet. Now, if it was ever proven that when she wrote this tweet, she did so with the intent of stirring up anger and making people go and burn down hotels and people had died as a result, then may she rot in that prison. But I think we all know that that wasn't what went on here. She just wrote a load of careless words, however ugly they may be, however vile the sentiment may have been. She did what so many people do on social media, anonymously, with that veil of anonymity every single day. All the internet trolls, all the people who just want to let off some steam after a bottle of Chardonnay. She wrote careless, vile words. And then, when the red misters cleared, she deleted them. And then all of her other tweets didn't sound like that at all. She said, I don't want rioting in this country. She had no idea that she might be causing people to actually go and do things. It wasn't, I don't believe, direct incitement. And I don't know, and nobody knows, whether people read that and said, right, that's exactly what I'm going to do. We don't know that because it never went to court. And so you look at this and you think she wrote something really vile in the heat of the moment and later deleted it. Did it have any lasting damage on people? Well, the person it is going to have lasting damage on is her 12-year-old daughter, who doesn't get to see a mum in those critical years of her upbringing. Her mother, who before this one incident was a childminder to children of all ethnicities, who had trauma of losing a child herself. And in that tweet, and it's funny, every time the press quotes that tweet, they cut out the final segment where she said what she willed to happen. She said, because I think of all the parents who have lost little children and the suffering that they will endure. That bit, whenever this is being reported, is always extracted.
Yeah, a woman who lost her own little boy tragically a year before. That's why she felt so emotionally het up after learning about these horrible murders in Southport. As Ray, her husband, said, and Lucy has said, the tweet was not a nice tweet. She realised, but she did it in the heat of the moment. It was a mother sympathising with other mothers. Now, as I say, I don't think in a Western democracy that anyone should ever be sent to jail for what they bang out on a keyboard on social media. If you must punish people, OK, but don't send them to jail. And for God's sake, 31 months. Do you know that one of the rape gang culprits, a guy in Telford, who admitted raping an underage little girl, apparently she was about 11, he got 9 months.
Right.
So this allegation of two-tier justice, it's not false. It's a thing. It happens, and we've got to do something about it.
And how dangerous is it that when we start feeling our judicial system has been politicised and it's all operating for a political purpose, then it's not an actual independent judicial system. How much we feel that certain people might have had reduced sentences because actually, mitigating circumstances, they came over on a small boat. Well, if we do this, there might be reprisals from their community. Or in the case of Lucy Connelly, we have to make an example of somebody to quell the risk that the public are going to riot against something, frankly, that was so abhorrent and appalling and gut-wrenching. It needed to be contained because people were going to take to those streets because what happened was beyond an atrocity. But using somebody as an example, taking this woman and putting her in prison as an example to strike fear into the hearts of the nation is the sort of tactic that only a crazy dictator uses. And I always want to, and people say you can't compare the cases, they're totally different. But I think you can compare the cases a little bit of Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe and Lucy Connelly. Nazanin Zaghari, Iran's an evil, hostile regime. I'm not condoning Iran at all. But this was a woman who'd been a British citizen for only a short period of time, very short period of time, wasn't even a year, I don't believe. Went back to Iran, and Iran decided in order to have leverage over the United Kingdom, it was going to put her in prison and then force the United Kingdom to start making concessions or making political decisions and fighting for her release. Now, everyone can point the finger at what Iran did and said that was vile. And didn't the newspapers, didn't they go to town on that case day after day, week after week? And I'm not saying that that wasn't wrong, but if our own government can take someone as political leverage, put them in prison for a ridiculous amount of time in order to try and quell dissent in our own country, in order to use this as a political piece for a different outcome, a political outcome, then there are parallels. Yeah. And yet this woman she's our citizen. She's born, she's in this country, she's served this country, she's brought up other people's children, she's paid her taxes, she hasn't got a speck on her record book, not saying that Nazanin did either. But why can't we have the same emotive outpouring for her as we did for Nazanin? Why can't we say this is a woman who is wrongly imprisoned because the government is using this to fulfill an agenda?
Talking to the government, Alex, what did you make of, if you haven't seen it, we'll play it for you, but you've probably seen it, when, after Lucy's appeal shockingly failed, and that idiot judge, Lord Justice Holroyd, said there can be no argument to suggest that her 31-month sentence for hurty words on Twitter is manifestly excessive. Oh yeah, there can be lots of arguments it's manifestly excessive. But after that, Keir Starmer, our dear leader, was interviewed on television, intercepted on one of his PR visits to some shop or other, and so I was asked, well, Lucy Connolly's appeal, what do you think of it? You know, it got rejected, and he went, I'm sorry, I don't know the details, not across the details of that case. You mean the most famous case in Britain, the one that's all over the front pages every day? You mean the one that's all over the television news bulletins every day, the one that's all over the radio every day, the one that Donald Trump was talking about in the White House 2 days ago? You're not across the details. I mean, not only is that a lie, it's an insult to our intelligence. And doesn't he owe us some kind of statement on this famous, should I say, notorious case? What kind of a man is the Prime Minister of this country?
Well, a man who probably doesn't even want to see her visitation rights, because that would cause too much of an uproar amongst the community if there are paparazzi snapping photos of her and news reports like here she's seeing her daughter for the very first time in however many months, getting any sort of access to her. It's a man who basically is scrambling to try and stay in control and keep control of situations that are way beyond his capabilities. A man who doesn't necessarily know what he's doing, quite frankly. Just pulls the
that's the understatement of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if he had a real moral backbone, somewhere at night when he went to sleep, he would think about Lucy Connolly and think that woman shouldn't be locked up. Because look, I'm reflecting on something that's happened to me at the weekend with horrible words I used that I instantly regretted. You know, you have a drink, you say something awful, and then you wish you could get in a time machine and go back and not say them. Mm-hmm. But hey, bad stuff happens. We all have done it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody walking on this planet has never said anything they didn't regret. It's the same situation with her. It was just typed.
Yeah. She made a mistake in the heat of the moment, and when you understand why she was so emotionally upset, you can't help but say, poor woman. Now, you know, nobody condones what she wrote, but we know why she did it. It was out of sympathy for her fellow mothers, 3 mothers who'd lost their little girls, just like she had lost her little boy a year before. That's why she did it, and that's why it's outrageous that this justice system, this 2-tier justice system, isn't prepared to show her any mercy at all. Let's bear in mind, out of 385 or so people that went to jail with indecent haste after those summer riots, you know, obviously ordered by Keir, get them banged up and get them banged up fast and give them hefty sentences. That was the instruction from Downing Street, no doubt about it. Out of those 385, 12 went to jail for tweets, for posts on Facebook, for social media posts. None of them should have gone to jail. This Prime Minister, he then says, I'm all for freedom of speech. Any leader who presides over a system that jails people for what they write on social media, he's not in favour of free speech. He is the enemy of free speech. I think it's a disgrace. It's a scandal.
Can you imagine how we would react to another country doing this, okay? Yeah. How we would react to protesters in Iran who don't want to wear the hijab being put into prison. Yeah. How we would react to an anti-government march who might have said, you know, chop off the head of the leader, but those people being put in prison. How we would react to the idea that saying words and speaking passionately about something, even if the words used are grotesque. But everyone in this country has a grip on reality. I'm sure they do, unless they choose not to. And anybody, I'm sure, with half a brain can look at what she said and look at her, put 2 and 2 together and make 4, and say that this was an otherwise upstanding young woman who was no threat to society, who just wrote something grim. It's that simple, and we've all done it in the heat of moment.
Yeah, well, of course, everybody makes mistakes, and that's why she should be forgiven. There's an excuse for her mistake, but I've got to finish on this topic. This will annoy you, I think. Last night, I spoke to Isabel Oakeshott, and this judge the appeal court judge, Lord Justice Holroyd. To be fair, he's one of 3 judges. It's always a panel of judges, but he's the lead. He's the one who said there can be no argument that her sentence was manifestly excessive. Yeah, there can. Anyway, he's got a track record of drastically reducing the sentences of sex criminals, of paedophiles and rapists. I won't bore you with all of them, but we found 5 examples where he reduced the sentences of serious sex criminals. But the one that amused me the most, I shouldn't say that's probably the wrong word, but he said that the sentence of a guy called Matthew Falder, he was a Cambridge graduate in 2018. He remains one of Britain's most prolific paedophiles. Lord Justice Holroyd, he reduced this monster's 32-year prison sentence to 25 years. The court accepted the submission, and guess what Lord Justice Holroyd's statement on this was? That the 32-year prison sentence was, drum roll, manifestly excessive.
You know, Kevin, the truth of the matter is, and this isn't spoken about enough, most paedophiles barely get a whiff of justice levelled against them. There are so many paedophilic incidents and so many paedophilic reports in this country. If we were to bang them all up in prison, there aren't enough prisons in all of Europe to do that. And it's almost one of those things. It's like, well, how bad was it? Really, were they doing this? Were they actively doing that? And yet, all of a sudden, despite overcrowded prisons, when it came to those riots, and also a justice system that doesn't work before like a 2-year wait list, that we were able to have the judge judification of law, these televised trials of people dragged off the street, taken straight to prison. That man, that Weasley little one who looks like a proper Hugo in his wig, banging his little hammer, sentencing everyone, televised. I mean, when do we do this? We don't televise court cases. The whole thing was a spectacle, a theatre, a performance to make sure that the British people did not riot. Yeah. Now, while that might have justification, because rioting tears apart a country, its economy, it creates lasting damage that is very, very hard to repair. So while on some part controlling that and mitigating it is purposeful, the manner in which this has been done, and let's not forget there was a man who died in prison during...
Yeah, he was jailed for holding up a placard, by the way. This is another thing about Lucy Connelly, of course, that she got a considerably longer sentence than many of the actual rioters. People who were throwing bricks at the cops, people who were trying to set fire to mosques and asylum seeker hotels got less than Lucy Connelly.
And one last thing I've got to say, Kev, because it's so important to point this out, so important, about looking at the fabrication and the lies and the curation of what went on during that period. We now know that he knew the details of that case. He knew them.
Of course he did.
He knew what was later released to the public. At the time where he was presiding over all of this pantomime, he knew the truth.
Yeah, he did. I've got one last question for you. Before we go to break, and we're going to discuss the Chagos Islands after that break. Explain this to me. Why is Lucy Connelly in jail? Why was she jailed for such a long time while the self-confessed child sex abuser, paedophile, former BBC newsreader Hugh Edwards walks the streets free? Why is that?
Oh, because it's very simple. Like I said, if you actually were to jail every single paedophile who's received, even category 8 images on their phone, there's not enough prison spaces in all of Europe to accommodate just the British ones. So that is why that is, because the argument would be, well, he hadn't actually gone and physically committed the abuse on the children himself. But we forget, of course, that there was that whole element of coercion and paying someone vulnerable. And because, like I said before, the whole curation of that process during the riots was a pantomime to try and quell the anger of British people. And whilst I think that it's important to try and stop rioting, you have to look at yourself as a government, ask the question, why are they rioting? The fact that they failed to handle this. He didn't come to a lectern after that Southport stabbing and speak to us. He didn't say that what happened was disgusting, that this person had terrorist manuals, that he was going to crack down on the terrorist gangs in the same way he's going to supposedly crack down on people trafficking. He didn't do that. When he did take to a lectern, he didn't offer those words of comfort. He just called us all far-right
thugs. And by the way, just last point on that, Alex, a couple of weeks ago, His Majesty's Inspectorate of Police, a kind of police watchdog on which senior officers sit, they published a very extensive report on the Southport riots and the other riots, particularly the Southport riots, in which they concluded, they said that actually these riots were not political, that the political beliefs of the rioters was not relevant. They were protesting against decisions by the government to do with asylum seekers and migrants. In other words, the entire premise of Keir Starmer's attack on these rioters, far-right thugs, was dismissed. You know, this guy just makes it up as he goes along.
How do you say? They weren't political. They were protesting the government's decisions.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, they were. That's what they were. They were protesting against the migrant crisis.
That person in number 10, when the Southport atrocity happened, should have had the backbone to speak to the nation, to give us the information, to tell us what had went on, to actually say this is disgusting, that I'm going to fight it, I'm going to beat Islamism wherever it raises its ugly head in this country. He should have done that. Why didn't he? Weakness. Yeah. Weak.
That sums him up very nicely put. Thrice weak. Now, we're going to go to break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the latest of Keir Starmer's terrible deals. I was just saying to Philip Kilsley, he's done 3 deals in a week. The Brexit reset, the Brexit betrayal, that ridiculous deal with the World Health Organization, and now the Chagos Islands. So we'll talk about the Chagos Islands after these messages. Stay exactly where you are.
Well, the ONS themselves have made it very clear that the big areas of reduction are as a direct result of people coming here on work visas and people coming here as students not being able to bring family members with them anymore. That was a big driver to the increase in figures, and that's why these figures have come down. And those changes I put in place when I was Home Secretary.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with my old colleague and friend Alex Phillips, obviously fellow Talk presenter here. You're on tomorrow, aren't you, at 10 a.m, yeah? Oh,
yeah,
by the way, we'll be doing the handover. I'm doing the breakfast show. There you go. That's an announcement, folks. If you want to enjoy my fantastic broadcasting skills tomorrow, you'd have to get up at 6 a.m. So won't see any of you then. No, but seriously, I'm doing the breakfast show tomorrow from 6 until 10, and then I'll be handing over to Alex. So there you go.
Yeah, lay off the red tonight, Kev. Actually, to be doing a show that, can I just say to the audience, when you do a 3-hour live show, you're knackered. It's like being on stage.
Physical, isn't it? Physical, yeah.
It's physical. You come off air and you're drained. And then and you're wired as well because you're like, bah, 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 for 3 hours. You have got to literally go to bed at 10 o'clock, bah, 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 what? And then wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and then do 4 hours.
No, I'm having a lie-in. I'm going to sleep until 3:30 a.m. Can't wait.
You deserve a medal, mate. Tomorrow, if you need an extra long handover, if you want that last half hour to be,
Yeah, can you come in about 9 o'clock and just take over, actually? Well, I'll look forward to seeing it tomorrow anyway, but let's quickly talk about the Chagos deal. As I just said, Keir Starmer's on a roll. There's the Brexit betrayal. He signed a deal to hand over more power to the World Health Organization to get them to impose lockdowns around the world, including in Britain. So he's done that. And, of course, the icing on the rancid cake is his Chagos Islands deal. After a late last-minute intervention by a Chagosian woman who said that her rights were being infringed, and so there was a slight delay. He was supposed to sign this deal with Mauritius this morning, but it was delayed. But he's done it now in a virtual signing ceremony with the Mauritian government. Keir Starmer has handed them the Chagos Islands, the very strategic Chagos Islands that they've never had sovereign control of before. They're 1,300 miles from Chagos. But you think, well, OK, well, you know, we're obviously doing a deal. They're going to give us some money, you know, billions of pounds. No. We are giving them the Chagos Islands. By the way, they're China's best friend, Mauritius. And for that privilege, we're giving them billions of pounds, £9 billion. I honestly, I'm not joking, Alex. To this moment, I cannot understand this deal. I don't get it. It's a lose-lose all the way, isn't it?
Yeah, and okay, right. So if you want to know how vapid and vacuous and venal this ridiculous government is, and frankly the government before, because this started under the Tories, let us not absolve them from their responsibility. It's the fact that when this Chagos thing first came about and people went, well, this is ridiculous. Why are we just handing someone our territory, paying them for the privilege and agreeing to pay them henceforth when they're like a gazillion miles away and have nothing to do with it? They went, well, maybe Donald Trump would get in the way. Maybe Donald Trump will stop it. Are we that pathetic as a nation that we've got to hope some other person's leader turns around and says, you shouldn't do that? And then what this is a buying for time. This court case is essentially hopefully delaying things by making sure the matter goes in front of Parliament. But of course, it'll just be swept away with the big Labour Party majority. Because also Keir Starmer does is some human rights lawyer somewhere who said, actually, I think it's this because decolonisation, that, and actually, you know, if you roll back here, I mean, who cares about rolling back history? There are Chagosians who are expelled from the island who might quite like to go home. It is British territory, it's British overseas territory. It is part of Britain. You don't just go, well, you know, someone else can have it, to administer from thousands of miles away. Mauritius has got naff all to do with the Chagos Islands, quite frankly. And actually, that is part of history. So it is just so ridiculous. It is, you know, this is how a lot of the world works now in globalization. Things that you kind of think are beyond the point of sanity. The old world order, fine, you can't have it, suddenly become entangled with words and feelings and what is right and colonialisation and wokery. And then Sir Keir Starmer, who buys into the lot of it like a panting dog, will just take the bone of the master, drop it at his floor, drooling, and everyone else is going, what are you doing, sunshine?
Yeah.
Is there leverage? Is there no power, even your little finger, to actually lead? To actually say this is in British interests not to do this?
It's in the Western world's interest. The Chagos Islands, of course, the main island on this archipelago in the South Seas, is called Diego Garcia, which always sounds to me like some kind of expensive footballer playing for Real Madrid or something. But that is the island, and on there is this airstrip that is used by Britain, it's used by America, and we patrol, obviously, the Middle East there. We patrol the Far East. It is extremely strategically crucial in the security of the world. Now, we are going to be allowed to rent that island for the next 99 years. But still, the question is, why? Why have we given these islands, these strategic islands, to China's best friend, Mauritius? Apparently, when we first approached the Mauritians, they went, what? 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 All right. So this is the only possible reason that you can deduce this has happened. It is because Keir Starmer is a sort of North London humanitarian lawyer, as Richard Littlejohn always says. The thing about Keir Starmer is he is a complete and utter lawyer. And on his North London dinner circuit, The Guardian readers, is also this guy called Richard Hermer. Richard Hermer, he ennobled in one of his first acts as Prime Minister. He made him a Lord so he could make him Attorney General. Richard Hermer, like Keir Starmer, hates Britain. They see the Chagos Islands as a symbol of evil British imperialism, of colonialism, and it's only right that we give these islands back to their natural owners. And their natural owners are not Mauritius.
It's almost worse than that. It's almost worse than that, because I don't even think they see it as that. But someone somewhere at some woke court or some woke committee in the UN sees it as that. And so the UN had said something. So they just literally do what they always do, which is like the zombie dance to whatever international treaty tells them to do, because they're just spineless, feckless, pathetic people who don't seem to have any conviction of belief in anything apart from let's follow the leader. We've got to do what UN says. And this is what's even more ridiculous, right? So, I said earlier about the idea that, people were all hoping Donald Trump would go, hold on, we've got an important strategic military airbase on that island, and you're going to give it to a country that's in bed with China. I don't think so. Well, of course he didn't, because we went, by the way, Donald, we're going to give these islands that we've given an airbase to you on to a country that's in league with China. But don't worry, because we're going to be paying rent, and we're going to sure that you've got all the provisions that you can still have that airbase. So America's gone, well, what's the problem then?
Yeah.
Do you know, why would you're literally not even taking the problem to someone. You're saying we've actually already built in the solution because we're going to pay for this and pay for that. And they might be thinking, great, brilliant, let's get some listening devices hearing what the Chinese are up to.
It is that, though, Alex. It's a bunch of lefty lawyers, from North London. Keir Starmer, when asked about this, why the hell are you giving these Chagos Islands away when Mauritius doesn't even particularly want them? And by the way, why are you giving them £9 billion for the privilege of us giving them the islands? He said, because it's the right thing to do.
This is what I mean. So lawyers are here, politicians are here. Politicians think politically. They think about democracy. They think about having a conviction. They think about ideology. They think about a vision for the country. They think about doing whatever they can to try and succeed in that mission. Lawyers are about signing documents because the law says so, crossing T's, dotting I's, and knowing it down to every little individual infinitesimal semantic, like programmed robots. So this is how it actually works out when you have all the paperwork. Never should the two mix, because this lot don't have any vision. They might be politicized and they might have leanings, but they don't have vision because it's drummed out of them not to. It's drummed out of them that if you have to go and represent a serial killer, you represent that serial killer, not because you like all his killings, but because the law tells you have to, and you do everything to the letter of the law. So they're told to park their morality at the doorstep in order to do their duties. Politics should be all about morality. Morality and vision and conviction and ideology should be at the heart part of politicians. So when you've got a politician lawyer, guess what? You've just got a big, weak, vapid, pointless, flabby bureaucrat who can't run a country because all he can do is take instructions.
Exactly right. Is it one of the biggest problems with our body politic with Westminster is it is packed with lawyers, with windbag barristers. You know, when they all have to stand up and pay tribute as one of the MPs who's died or something. I mean, those tributes go on for about 5 days because they just talk and talk and talk. So far too many lawyers in that place. And it gets pretty bad when one of those lawyers is the automaton technocrat, Keir Starmer. You're right. Basically, he's doing this because he thinks it's the law. It's international law, but also it's because he doesn't like imperialism. He thinks it's some sort of colonial throwback. It's ridiculous.
Comes before the law. Laws are written to keep up with what politicians decide. Politicians' jobs are to change laws, to scrap laws, to amend laws, to debate about what the new law should look like, not just follow them. It's such a different thing. One's a cart, one's a pony.
You're so right. You're so right. This Chagos deal is a massive, massive mistake. Listen, Alex, I better move because, as always with you, I've overshot by miles, by many, many minutes. But listen, have a nice night, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Alex Phillips there, my fellow talk presenter, will be doing the handover after the breakfast show, which I'm hosting. Mike's gone on a well-deserved break, and I mean that. I usually say well-deserved break ironically, but that guy works hard. So he's having a few days off at a lovely foreign destination. I hope he enjoys himself. I'll be doing it, I think, until about next Tuesday. So Friday, Monday and Tuesday. See you next Tuesday. Right, when we come back, a couple of your calls. And there is much still to come on this packed show. So stick around, folks.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Quick, before we go to the phones, quick text that I've had in, WhatsApp message. This is from Malcolm. He says, hi, Kevin, Alex. Can you help me? Because I think I must have missed something. I haven't heard one coherent reason as to why on earth we will possibly wish to hand over British sovereign territory and pay money to another country to take it off us. In the words of Terry Rogan, is it just me? Thanks for the show. That's Malcolm in Hampshire. Well, I can't help you, Malcolm, because I honestly, I'm not joking. I keep saying that. I just cannot work out why we're doing this, and I think I'm not alone. It's just some kind of guilt trip on the part of our ludicrous North London lawyer, Guardian reading Prime Minister, something about colonialism and handing countries back to territories back to the countries that own them. But, you know, Mauritius is 1,300 miles away. I mean, what is that? Like kind of the same distance from London to Marrakesh or something. It's 1,300 miles away, and Mauritius has never had sovereign control of the Chagos Islands. So we're not handing it back to Mauritius. We're just giving the islands to Mauritius and then saying, thank you for taking it off our hands. Would it be okay if we also gave you £9 billion? And Mauritians going, well, yeah, sure, I guess. It's unbelievable. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Rachel in Norfolk. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Kevin.
How you doing? You want to talk about chemical castration?
Yes. Well, on research over 40 years, it actually doesn't work.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Yeah, that the efficacy of it is under a cloud. There's a question mark about whether or not it actually works. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, I first found out about this. Unfortunately, I watched Louis Theroux, BBC,
right?
But he made a great documentary about the paedophile island, where they put all the paedophiles in a prison in the desert.
Yeah.
And they could only prove their innocence if they could pass a test.
Right. So that you mean, yeah, I mean, this is California, various states in America do this, that sex offenders are only allowed out on parole, if they agree to chemical castration.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of that in this proposed system by Labour, by the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood. She says she favours the idea of mandatory sexual castration.
Well, no. If you watch the documentary, it was actually needed to be released from this.
Yeah, that's what they do in
prison.
That's what they do. That's what I'm saying. Various states in America do this.
None of them passed. None of them were released.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's a system that actually probably does work.
Well, I think that I've heard stories that the chemical castration isn't particularly effective.
No.
It wears off. Apparently, if you drink a lot, it might not. It might like reduce the efficacy of it. But the thing is, Rachel, let's not get too worked up about this. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. This is just a smokescreen announcement by the Labour government to cover up for the fact that what they've actually announced is a charter for crime. All crimes will now be met with seriously reduced punishments, seriously reduced sentences. Far fewer people going to jail. That's the story. That's the real story. But they actually also said, yeah, we're going to chemically castrate sex offenders. Obviously, that catches the eye of the media and it overshadows the real story, which is the government has just released a charter that is soft on crime.
Yeah, because they will not be hard on paedophiles.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not at the moment.
No,
and
they never will be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I totally agree. But as I say, don't get too worked up about this new chemical castration scheme. It's headline hunting by a government because it makes them sound very tough on crime. No, we're going to chemically castrate sex offenders. That's how tough we are. Underneath that announcement is just one long ream of announcements that make punishments much lighter for crime. So from now on, if you commit crimes, your punishment will be much lighter. So there you go. Soft on crime, soft on the causes of crime. You're quite right, Rachel. Thanks for a good call. Call me again. Rachel in Norfolk. Let's go to break. And when we come back, we are going to be talking about... Let me just look this up. Stay where you are. Talk among yourselves. Oh, yeah. Channel invasion. The Channel invasion is soaring. 820 migrants came across yesterday, and now a data scientist, a guy called Dr. Richard Wood, one of the top in his field, I think it's Cambridge University he works out of, he's predicting a record year this year of 50,000 illegal migrant arrivals, probably more. Last year there were 36,000. How do you think old Keir Starmer's smash the gangs strategy is working out? 03444991000. No deterrence, just encouragements. No deterrence whatsoever to stop these people climbing on dinghies and coming across the channel. That's why they keep coming. And when they get here, we give them 50 quid a week. We put them in a 4-star hotel. We give them free doctors, free dentists and free lawyers to fight their case to stay. Can't imagine why they keep coming, can you? In France, if they're lucky, they get a tent. That's it. We are the suckers of this world. This is the most stupid country about this. It's ridiculous. We'll talk about that after this break.
Like the Foreign Minister of Israel there, have seen this coming, not just for months, as he said, actually for years. This constant drip, drip, drip of anti-Israel propaganda put out by Hamas and other Palestinian factions, but so readily adopted by the left-wing media, the mainstream media in general, governments. Can't just blame the Labour government we have now. Even David Cameron, when he was Foreign Secretary, and in years before that, said outrageous things about Israel.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Right, let's talk about the migrant crisis. Yesterday, a record for the year, 820 illegal migrants came across the channel unlawfully in small boats. There was that extraordinary scene where an impressive flotilla of 66 little ships commemorating the Dunkirk evacuation was ordered to disperse and move aside while they brought a migrant dinghy into Britain. That's a very special little tableau, isn't it, of what's going on, our priorities. Never mind commemorating one of Britain's greatest days, greatest military achievements. Get out of the way. We've got to get some illegal migrants into Dover, into Kent. It's pathetic, isn't it? Yeah, 820 migrants, and still they come. The 825 beating the previous high of 705 on the 15th of April. Last year's tally was 220. For 2024 was 36,816, and now a top data scientist called Dr. Richard Wood predicts this year 50,000 at least. Let's talk to from the Centre for Migration Control, Lucy White. Welcome to the show, Lucy.
Hi, Kevin. It's great to be here. Great to be on your show.
Good to have you. Yeah, Dr. Richard Wood, I think he's from Cambridge University. He's regarded as our top data scientist. He makes these models that predict the future. I have my doubts about some of those. I remember the models during the COVID crisis, but this guy really does know his onions, and he says that you can be pretty assured that by the end of this year, 50,000 illegal migrant arrivals will have unfolded. People coming over from France. That compares very badly with last year's tally of 36,000. Now, we were very upset about that, weren't we? And now it looks like 50,000. There's no end to this, is there? It's getting worse and worse and worse because there's no deterrence.
Yeah, it literally makes my blood boil sitting here listening to this. Like, it actually infuriates me. If you think 50,000, that's 1,000 illegal migrants every single week, because, 52 weeks in a year, that's pretty much 1,000 a year. And who is this affecting? It's affecting the taxpayers. It's costing £6.4 billion every year to host these illegal migrants. And if you can imagine the taxpayer, we're literally like holding up this huge rock, which is just crippling us. Every time we're trying to, to work and to do something, we just get more and more migrants coming in. The rock is getting heavier and heavier. And how are we supposed to hold up that weight? I say all the taxpayers, as we are the ones that are essentially paying for this, we should either go on strike, not pay our taxes, or we should at least have an emergency vote, an emergency referendum that says, do you want your money to be spent on illegal migrants? Because this is absolutely ridiculous.
Meanwhile, our Prime Minister and the Home Secretary, Calamity Cooper, keep banging this drum. They keep saying, smash the gangs, we're going to smash the gangs, smash the gangs. Well, the problem is they started this Border Security Command back last July, on their first day, in fact, July the 5th. Took them about 5 months to find someone to lead it, a guy called Martin Hewitt, former copper. He gets 200 grand a year. They've handed something like £200 million to the Border Security Command to use the high-tech, cutting-edge, state-of-the-art equipment to trace the gangs, the people smuggling gangs, and to bring them to justice. What's happened since then is that no gangs whatsoever have been traced. None have been smashed. None have even been caught. The smash the gangs strategy is hopeless. Why doesn't this government, Lucy, have a plan that would work? And the only plan that would work would be to stop the migrants. Why don't they concentrate on the real source of the problem? It isn't actually people smuggling gangs, because you can smash all the people smuggling gangs you like tonight. There will be new ones tomorrow, because there are migrants with money ready to come across the channel. Why doesn't this government have a plan to stop the migrants?
Well, instead of tracing the actual so-called gangs, what they should be doing is, what I'm most concerned with, is tracing the actual illegal migrants in our country.
Exactly.
Because foreign nationals are 71% more likely to be convicted of sex crimes. And as a young woman in the UK, I do not feel safe walking the streets where there are thousands of unvetted men. Who on earth are these people?
Yeah.
So what my policy would be, because I actually studied at University of Cambridge, I did public policy there. What my policy would be is, as soon as they get to Dover, you detain them there. They do not set foot into our country. It's,
detain and deport. That's what my it would be,
detain and deport.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the idea of turning the boats around in the middle of the channel, but everybody says, oh, you can't do that. Fine, OK, so let them come here, then detain them. Never mind sending them back to France, fly them back to their home country. We're
Absolutely.
We'll pay for the ticket. That's how generous we are. That's what, once the message gets out that these migrants know that once they get here, they will not be embraced into the warm generosity of Britain, with a nice hotel and free food and 50 quid a week and free doctors, free lawyers, etc. Once they know that their fate, once they pitch up on our beaches, is essentially a U-turn on a plane back to their home country, they'll just stop coming.
Absolutely. We need remigration policy. And if their concern is, oh, I don't have a job in my home country, or oh, it's not safe. Well, okay, fine. You know what? We're spending so much money on you in our country. I would rather take that money and invest it in, pay for your salary for a whole year or 2 years in your home country, give you security there. Just go back to your home country, remigration, and we will help you settle. We will find you a job or create a job for you. We'll provide you security if it's unsafe. Just don't come to our country.
The essence of this scandal, in my view, is that we have a government, we've had successive governments, who have made it a low priority to keep the citizens of this country safe. They are allowing thousands and thousands of mostly young men of military fighting age into this country that they know nothing about. Nothing. They could be terrorists, they could be bombers, they could be bank robbers, like sex criminals, rapists, paedophiles. We don't know. We just say, oh, hello. Well, here's a hotel. We'll check it out later. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, what's actually unbelievable is some of their neighbouring countries actually refuse to accept them. So if you look at Qatar or Saudi Arabia, they will refuse to accept these illegal migrants. And what's even worse is we literally get the world's rejects sent to us, because anyone that is prosperous or doing well in their home country doesn't want to leave. So we get all the rejects coming to the UK, and for some reason we allow them here, and they are just leeching off our society. And what people need to understand, this is my message to the liberals out there who seem to want to support these illegal migrants, is, okay, fine. So let's say it's your wedding day, yeah? You have a seating plan for your guests, you've paid a lot of money for the venue, for the food. If a group of strangers turned up and said, hey, we're taking over your wedding, we're going to be here all day, we're going to eat your food and drink your alcohol, I can guarantee you that the people hosting that wedding would call the police and call security instantly. Yeah. So when it becomes a personal thing, people lock their doors at night. So why don't they have that same view for the country?
Yeah, well, it's a NIMBY situation, isn't it? Lucy, really good to have your debut performance on this show. And very good it was too. Please come back and see us again. That was great. Thank you very much. Lucy White from the Centre for Migration Control there. After the news, the 9 o'clock news, I'm going over to Los Angeles to speak to Kinsey Schofield about Meghan and Harry. So lots still to come. Stay tuned for that.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In a little while, I'm going to be taking your calls. Lots and lots of calls coming in. Don't forget, I interviewed Ray Connelly's wife earlier today. We're trying to get large sections of that interview out on Twitter. Twitter seems to be down at the moment. I don't know if any of you are experiencing problems, but we're told there may be some kind of global or at least national outage going on with Twitter. But keep checking your timelines because we'll get that out there when we can. Meanwhile, I'll be taking your calls in half an hour. Talk about Ray Connelly, perhaps, the Chagos Islands. Keir Starmer just gave them away. That's good. Would you like these islands? All right then. Can I give you £9 billion as well? Oh, yeah, thanks. You know, I mean, what kind of a deal is that? Plus the World Health Organization deal, the Brexit betrayal, and castrating sex offenders. 03444991000. Before we get to all of you and your calls and your messages and your WhatsApp voice notes, it is time to go across to the west coast of America and talk to the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Hi, Kevin. Good to see you.
You too. Right, well, I think the topic of the week, we discussed this the other week, is still, the other night, is still the seventh anniversary of Harry and Meghan's wedding, which, of course, was here on a beautiful cloudless sky day, sun shining, May the 18th, wasn't it? Or was it May the 19th, 2018. It's so bizarre that she posted on Instagram that mood board of all the high points of their relationship, as she called it, our love story, and never mentioned Harry. I mean, I think she's so consumed with herself. She's almost beginning to forget that she's got this ginger husband. You know, he is playing such a small role in her life, it seems to me. He's almost a sideshow. What do you think is going on here?
Well, or was that post all just for show because she knew no one else, she knew the royal family wasn't going to acknowledge it. In fact, there were all sorts of stories that were circulating in the days leading up to the anniversary about how the royal family planned to ignore it on social media. And here in the States, it's being reported by tabloids that Meghan quietly canceled plans to celebrate their 7th wedding anniversary at home with Prince Harry because they don't have that many friends left. So that I thought alarming. This woman that's trying to sell us this image of herself that she's always planning parties at home for her and her friends, and she's going above and beyond because she wants to elevate everything with flower petals that you can choke on later in your ice. Actually had to quote, to quote the Radar, quietly cancel plans because they just have no one to invite these days.
Now, she put on that mood board pictures of the kids, actually. I think one of them, you can actually see one of the kids' faces. And by the way, there was a full frontal picture, I think, of Archie before he was born. There's a picture of that kid in the womb. So these are her highlights. There's pictures of her and Harry kissing and this kind of thing, you know, all very, very saccharine. But actually, if you think about it, these are the special memorable moments that we've enjoyed in our sensational 7 years together and all that. But actually, if you think about these 7 years since they got married, what we didn't realise was back on May the 19th, 2018, that was a fantastic ceremony, a breathtaking event, watched by more than 1 billion TV viewers all over the world. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And we all thought, this couple, this golden couple, world at their feet, what can possibly go wrong? Well, ever since then, pretty much everything's gone wrong. What we didn't realise was that fabulous spectacular ceremony. That was the high. Ever since then, they've been going downhill. She hated being in Britain. She hated being a royal, a working royal, and then she staged that Megxit, taking Harry in tow, fleeing Britain under a cloud because the Queen had launched an inquiry, an investigation into her bullying palace staff. That was the beginning of it. And ever since then, basically, it has been downhill all the way, hasn't it? I mean, they haven't really put a foot right. Their 7 years, I mean, I don't know whether they're happy personally, but we have seen basically a catastrophic comedy of errors ever since they got married and then ran away to California. Something really bad about this relationship. It hasn't worked out, has it?
Clearly, these two don't believe in omens. Or, like, 7 red flags ago, they should have probably sat down and had a very serious talk. Yeah, well, you mentioned the pictures of the kids. Like, you know, we're supposed to be surprised that we actually saw their faces. I just got into a fight with Liz Jones about this on Daily Mail. Daily Mail, who was talking about how much Meghan is... how one day her children will appreciate how much they protected her. She was talking about Meghan protecting the children and how we don't see their faces, you know, and I said, actually, we see plenty of these two in the Harry and Meghan docuseries available on Netflix to stream right now in its entirety, hours and hours of these children and their faces. When it comes to the right price, Meghan Markle is happy to share images of her children. And right now her brand is at such a decline that she is going to use pictures of them to try to garner attention for herself and her brand and to try to control the narrative. But Meghan is willing to show pictures of her kids. I think it just depends on how many zeros are at the end of the check. And talking about the happiness of these two, I think we can both agree on the fact that this is something that drives Prince Harry absolutely crazy. The teasing of the children, will they, won't they, how much we get to see of them. I think if it were up to Prince Harry, he would shut them away for good, and we wouldn't see them because he does not think it's fair to them. And if we believe him at his word, he's truly concerned about their security.
Absolutely. And talking of happiness, it's quite clear Prince Harry is not happy. He's a very unhappy man. He made that obvious during that awful interview, that spoilt brat interview he gave 2-3 weeks ago after he lost his long legal battle to get armed police protection when he's in Britain. He was like a spoilt brat that didn't get his own way, throwing his toys out of the pram, but revealing along the way he's a deeply, deeply unhappy guy. There's no doubt about that. And incredibly paranoid. But earlier I listed, you'll be able to fill in a few of the gaps, Kinsey. I know some of the outrageous events that have peppered their 7 years together. So we just talked about running away from Britain, Meghan under a cloud, being investigated for bullying staff, Harry, by so doing, by following her, making without a doubt the biggest, greatest mistake of his life, giving up the life he was born to, and now he looks like a forlorn individual who knows what he's left behind, who knows what he's lost. So that was a big mistake. Then, of course, this preposterous pair sitting down, giving that interview, that awful interview to Oprah Winfrey, calling the royal family racists, falsely calling them racist. Then, of course, announcing, this sort of pompous announcement that they were going to become, the greatest charity benefactors on earth. How's that working out for them? The puffed up prince, enraging Americans. You remember this when he announced that America's one of the best things about America, by the way, one of the many great things about America, your fabulous First Amendment enshrining freedom of speech. Americans take it very seriously, freedom of speech, and I love them for it. And Harry called the First Amendment bonkers. How dare he? Also, of course, making a fool of himself at stupid Hollywood awards ceremonies, accepting from John Travolta an award as a legend of aviation. He's not a legend of aviation. And of course, his horrible book Spare, lifting the lid on King Charles and his clan's, most intimate secrets for cash. Meghan bullying staff atrociously in the trenches of Montecito, all of them leaving in their droves, calling themselves the Sussex Survivors Clubs, telling these stories of trauma, how she was a tyrant in high heels, who's prone to tantrums in the middle of the night, and so on and so forth. Prince Harry's ludicrous war against the press, British press especially, this blizzard of lawsuits, saying he's going to, declare war on the press, a war he can never win. They basically, and then of course that shocking interview just a few weeks ago with the BBC, revealing he doesn't talk to his dad anymore, and accusing his dad of colluding, conspiring with shady government figures over here to have him dead. They want him dead. I mean, the horrors of these 7 years, their behaviour over 7 years, when you add it all up, when you tot it all up, it's extraordinary. It's atrocious.
Life is hard, but life doesn't have to be that hard. And the majority of the difficulties these two have faced over the last few years, specifically the last 5 years, have been from their own doing, have been consequences of their own actions. They are entirely self-serving. They are selfish individuals that are completely obsessed with not only their narrative and their truth, but obsessed with vengeance. And it's only been in since 2025 that we have seen Meghan try to move in a different direction. And she tells us constantly how she's pursuing joy. In fact, she's ruined the word for me. And it's hard for us to swallow that pill when we have seen such bitterness from the pair. Meghan's first interview with The Cut, where she gloated about stumbling upon some diaries that she'd left at Frogmore, and how she did not have to sign an NDA when she left the British royal family. Even some means, I think she accidentally makes some comments today to let us know that she still resents that time in her life, despite trying to sell us tea bags. She will talk about being in the trenches with Prince Harry. So, it's hard for us to buy this new and improved version of Meghan, not just because Prince Harry appears on international television looking like he's about to have a psychological break, but also because we know, based on repetition, that this isn't actually who she truly is.
Exactly right. And of course there is this the other side to them, when they said they were going to be two of the world's great philanthropists setting up this Archewell Foundation. Well, we know that Archewell Foundation doesn't do very much at all. Well,
don't they donate to Ashley Biden?
Yeah, apart from that,
donate to Ashley Biden. But also remember when they said, I loved when they left the British royal family, and they told us that they were going to only be working with up-and-coming young grassroots media personalities and entities, because they were tired of the royal rota system. And who's in their pocket today? People magazine. Not exactly who I would consider an up-and-coming publication, or they are a part of the system. They are a part of the exact system that Harry and Meghan criticize constantly.
Exactly. And as I say, Tina Brown, of course, only recently said, well, they talk about about doing good. They've always talked about doing good. And she put the very valid question, exactly what good do they do? Now, they recently attended a big event hosted by the very big magazine in America, Time magazine. And it was for the most influential people on earth.
Another grassroots marketing media entity, I want to remind you.
You know what they're up to, because I think they fancy getting on Time's prestigious list of the world's 100 greatest philanthropists. Well, that list has just come out. It's called the Time 100 Philanthropy list. 100 people who are the most generous charity benefactors on the earth. And a certain Duke and Duchess, despite sucking up to Time magazine a couple of weeks ago, attending their party, are conspicuous by their absence. They are not in the world's top 100 philanthropists, and why would they be? The last accounts for the Archwell Foundation were that revealed that they had about $5.7 million worth of donations last year, 5 million of which came from one source. The rest of the donations were just 700,000, which is nothing. And the word is that 5 million was donated by Harry himself. That's just the allegation. We don't know the truth of it, but it was donated by Harry himself in order to cover up for the embarrassment of a charity foundation that no one's interested in and no one's donating to. And it's
also nice.
It's not doing any good either, is it?
Nice tax write-off too. Like, let's not act like when Prince Harry donates money, it's not just for out of the good of his heart. It's also because he has 16 bathrooms he has to pay for.
Yeah, exactly right.
But I wish I would have. I had this conversation, a debate with Dr. Tessa Dunlop, who is another royal commentator, yesterday. Afterwards, I was done, and I realized I wish I would have made the point. Tessa said, you know, William and Catherine, you can't compare to Harry and Meghan because William and Catherine have devoted their life to service, and Harry and Meghan are entertainers / philanthropists. Well, I wish I would have said, God love you, Tessa. Oprah Winfrey is three people down from Harry and Meghan. From Kate and William. David Beckham right underneath Catherine and Prince William. The reality is you can do both. You can be both. Harry and Meghan are just flailing, and they aren't as focused in their objectives, whether it be, am I selling a podcast? Am I selling a preserve? Am I selling a book? Do I want to do polo? Do I want to, when it comes to strategy and the choreography of a brand, Harry and Meghan are completely lost. So yes, William and Catherine, you can compare them to Harry and Meghan, even if Harry and Meghan are in this commercial world, because David Beckham is in the commercial world and made this list. Oprah Winfrey, friends of Harry and Meghan, in the commercial world, and still made this list. I think it's a fair comparison. I think it's fair to acknowledge that this is a loss for Harry and Meghan, and that this is it's not a snub. They just need to work harder.
Yeah, and Tessa told you, these two are philanthropists. Well, they're not philanthropists. Meghan's not a philanthropist. She's busy trying to flog sort of thin gruel jam spread for $14 a jar. That enterprise, as I told you last week, having now tried the produce, that ain't going to work. People are not going to go back a second time to buy honey that costs $28 or non-jam $14. Cookie mix, the cookie dough that costs $14. You know that I made those cookies and it's damn hard anyway. People aren't going to go back again. That is going to fail. I predict, Kinsey, that the next story about these two will be financial, that their financial struggles may become apparent because they've got a very expensive lifestyle and not much coming in. Harry's got royal money, but they are living a billionaire's lifestyle and they have not got a billionaire income going on.
I agree with you, and one of the main reasons I agree with you about their finances is that you talked about those bully reports. I talked about, these stories we hear repeatedly about Meghan, that you hear them so often that it's hard to dismiss them. Meghan is a control freak. If Meghan could own, control, and take care of everything herself, she absolutely would. The idea that Netflix is a quote-unquote partner to Meghan Markle's brand tells me that Meghan needs them. She needs them, because if she could, she would run the whole show. She has a hard time collaborating with people.
Yes, she certainly does. Let's talk a little bit about With Love, Meghan. We've got that second series coming up. We learned that Harry, he made a fleeting appearance in the first series that not many people watched. And the reason they didn't watch it was toweringly tedious, very, very boring. He's not going to be in the next one at all. So just strikes me that Harry, he was so upset about being a spare in the royal family, the man who never would be king. He's now a spare in that marriage, isn't he? He's playing a bit part. She takes centre stage. He's simpering in the wings. He just seems to be playing a more and more minor role in his wife's life.
Well, he's not busy. He's not too busy.
It's true.
I'm sitting here patiently waiting every single day for him to release some sort of statement about the African Parks charity scandal, beating a drum about it, because I just think it's so vile that he doesn't acknowledge it. He's stepped away from Senegale. I haven't seen him play a polo tournament in quite some time, haven't seen him surfing. So I really don't know what he does. I know that he does small, intimate conferences for Better Up. And that has upset some of the people that have paid to be a part of them, because a lot of them aren't accessible online. He will only talk to the few people that are in the room. And I don't know if that is an anxiety issue or if that's them trying to control the brand. I'm really not sure. But his reach has decreased. His influence barely, if at all, exists anymore. And but I also think that he doesn't love this path that Meghan has pursued. If she wants to pursue it, go ahead. But it's not something that he's eager to be a part of. So there has to be some frustration there, and there has to be some, straight up loneliness for Prince Harry these days.
Well, that's what he looked like in that interview that he gave to the BBC. I think it was now 3 weeks ago. He looked like a lonely man. He looked like a desperate man. He quite clearly has got kind of almost a psychopathic paranoia going on. He believes the world is conspiring against him. His dad, the king, is colluding with shady government figures. They want him dead. All this nonsense, this paranoid nonsense. He looks like a sad man. He looks like he's lost in a country where he doesn't belong. And he's a guy, he's got no direction home. His family don't talk to him. He doesn't talk to them. There's going to be no repairing of that feud, by the way. No repairing. So he needs a purpose in life. Meghan's got all her sad little projects that I don't think will work, but at least she's trying. He needs a purpose in life because, we can see he hasn't been doing anything. He doesn't do anything.
Well, the last episode of Meghan Markle's podcast is on Tuesday.
Oh, hang on a second. Let me write that down because, I just can wait. But who's this one with? Who's this one with?
We don't know yet, but it's probably someone else I've never heard of. I think that we'll see how quickly she commits to a season 2. Limonada, there's more in it for Limonada than there is for Meghan, likely, because Limonada was a small podcasting company we'd never heard of before Meghan Markle. So I think that they will allow her to continue to stick to their production company, whatever. But I'm curious to see how quickly she does transition into a season 2, because don't care what she tells us when she's sitting on Jamie Kern-Lima's podcast. I think she lacks when it comes to a work ethic, and what she's been doing over the last few months has probably been hard for someone who prior to this had not worked for 4 solid years.
I mean, God knows what lies ahead for Harry. And frankly, I think Meghan faces an uncertain future as well, because as I keep saying, I don't see her business is going to work. We know Confessions of a Female Founder has been a disaster. Yeah, but that's because it's so boring. It's so boring. And so is With Love, Meghan. Really, really tedious. You know, as we discussed before, you know, giving us recipes for ice cubes, that kind of thing. We don't need that. And there's going to be a second series, but after that, God knows what both of them will be doing. I mean, you know, people say, oh, why do you keep obsessing on them? I'm not going to lie. I find them fascinating. But why do we find them fascinating? It's because I
want to hold them accountable. I want to hold them accountable because I think that they are dishonest, and I think that they are mean to people. And I'm not obsessed with them. They get on my nerves, and I just want to hold them accountable because they are not honest about the way that they behave, about the way that they treat people, and about how the way people treat them.
You're right. There's a fundamental dishonesty about them. That's a really, really good point. As I say, I'm not obsessed with them, but I do find them fascinating. And the reason I find them fascinating is I'm compelled to watch them like you watch a car crash. This is a car crash soap opera, a real-life soap opera unfolding before our very eyes. And we don't know what the ending is, but I suspect it won't be a happy ending. And so my last question to you is 7 years. They've been married 7 years. You know that phrase, the 7-year itch, where couples tend to split up. I don't know whether they'll do it this year, but I do not hold up high hopes for the future of that marriage. I think with her track record, of dropping people when she feels they're no longer useful to her. Her first husband, who she ruthlessly dumped by sending him his engagement ring and wedding ring by WhatsApp. He go, what's this? Oh, I've been dumped. Her family, her father, her brother and her sister. She dumps people. She drops them from her life when she feels they're no longer any use to her. And I can't, for the life of me, quite see what use Harry is to her anymore. Could be bad news for Harry. What do you reckon? 7-year itch, 8-year itch, 9-year itch? What do you reckon, Kinsey?
I truly don't know. I think all I know is that when it happens, Harry is going to have he's not going to be welcomed back immediately with open arms in the UK. So I'm sure he's dreading, if he ever contemplates that decision, he's dreading the consequences because he truly will be lost. He truly will feel like he has no place to go. And for the people that say we're obsessed, we do need to hold these two accountable because they, at the end of the day, will be historical figures. And they have accused the royal family of racism, and that is simply not true. And that, you know, we need to stand up and we need to defend these people because it's important to history.
It is. And you're right. They need to be held up to judgment because there is a fundamental dishonesty. You know, Meghan in particular. Look how happy we are. Here's my mood board. No mention of your husband. I'm a wonderful person. What about all the people
I'm a great mom.
Yeah.
I'm such a good mom. Yeah. My kids love me.
Yeah, I'm not a bully. Well, yeah, you are. It's obvious you are a bully. I'm a great friend. I'm a great mum. Everybody loves me. No, they don't. No, they don't. Kinsey, great to talk to you. I think I'm doing your podcast next week, am I? Anyway, I'm doing it.
I'll see you there.
Recollections may vary. Me and Kinsey will be doing that next Tuesday. Have a lovely weekend. Great to talk to you as always. Talk next week. Kinsey Schofield, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered there. Great news there. When we come back, more of your phone calls. So we're going to take your calls, we're going to read your messages, we're going to play your WhatsApp voice notes. So stick around, folks.
in custody, in handcuffs, being led away from the scene where you've killed people, and you're still doing this demented, evil chant at this point, right? This kind of weird incantation that you're seeing across all university campuses and in all hate marches, it's not advancing the cause of anybody suffering in the Middle East at all. This whole thing being left unchecked is driving people to deep, deep evil acts. How long before we see something similar in Britain? How long before we see someone do this outside a Jewish school?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A couple of messages before we go to the phones. Here is one from Bev in Hudds. I guess that's Huddersfield, is it? Or maybe that's her name, Bev Hudds. Anyway, Bev, thank you. It says this. Hi, Kev. What is this idiot, stupid man Starmer doing? He could actually cause Britain serious damage. You're so right about that. They are a very dangerous government, correct? My head is seriously in my hands. Mine too, at least metaphorically. Yes, exactly. Here's an interesting one from Hans. He says, could we please have callers on your show who actually and genuinely believe that vast numbers of migrants into the UK is a good thing? It would make a very interesting debate. Yeah, I'd love to get someone on who thinks that, but I think I attract a particular kind of audience, and most of the people who tune into my show don't believe that allowing vast numbers of illegal migrants and indeed legal migrants into the country is a good thing, and I couldn't agree with them more. But I do agree with you, Hans. It would be nice to have a row with someone who believes in that absurdity. Before we go to the phones, a quick first WhatsApp voice note. This is Scott on Lucy Connelly.
Poor man's had to sell his car just to make them. I mean, they haven't got two halfpennies to rub together by the sound of things. They're struggling like no tomorrow, all because of Keir horrible Starmer. That man is I can't stand him. He's like bile, isn't he?
Scott there, I think, exemplifying the increasing visceral fury that people are feeling about this Prime Minister. I mean, he's hopeless. And I think he's malevolent. He's malevolent towards this country. He's doing things, as Bev just tweeted or sent me a message saying, he's damaging this country. He's acting against the interests of this country. So thank you, Scott. Very good WhatsApp voice note. We've got a couple more. I'll play those later in the show. And he's right about poor Ray Connelly. He needs some money. Lucy needs some money to carry on their legal battle. We'll give you in a little while. I'll tell you what, we'll put it up on the screen if we can. There it is. Go Fund Me. Hang on. You're going to have to give me that. I can't quite see that, folks. Oh, yeah, I got it now. Right, it's Go Fund Me, and that's at Democracy 3. Spell that out. Democracy 3. So start that again, Kev. You can spell democracy. DemocracyThree.org/help Lucy Connelly. So that's Democracy 3, spell it out, not the letter. Democracy3.org/help Lucy Connelly. GoFundMe. That is the GoFund. Go to that and help if you can. Democracy3.org/help Lucy Connelly, because we should help Lucy Connelly. Let's go back to the phones. New caller, love a new caller. This is John from Essex. Hello, John.
Hello, Kev. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. What would you like to say?
There's a couple of things. The original thing that I wish to say is this. Lucy Connelly, I think the tweet she put out was a bit of stupidity.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the sentence she received was not something I agreed with, far from it. But if that was the case, that was the sentence to go with that. You remember that, I don't know the guy's name, he was the Labour councillor who turned up at a demonstration. And
the guy down in South London who called for far-right thugs to all have their throats slashed or something like that, didn't he? Yeah.
So I think that if that was the case, what is the sentence on that guy?
Well, he's waiting for his case, but he's been waiting now for best part of a year, so his case is going through the legal system normally. You know, everybody has to wait a couple of years before they come to court because our justice system is all clogged up and moves at the pace of a snail. You know, the wheels of justice in this country grind agonisingly slowly, actually disgracefully slowly. So he's going to wait 2 years. But, of course, the Lucy Connollys and all the alleged offenders after the summer riots, they were in court, they were charged in court and banged up in jail with about 4 days flat. That's two-tier justice. That's different treatment, different strokes for different folks, and justice should be equal to all, right?
Yeah, and the only other thing, that all this stuff today about paedophiles, whatever...
you mean the chemical castration, yeah?
Well, while we're talking about that, we don't seem to be talking for the last week about the grooming gangs anymore. So is that anything to do with it, I wonder, you know, to get us off...
Well, I think I take your point, John, but what that announcement about chemical castration is all about by the government is to overshadow, hide, if you like, the truth of what their real announcement was today, which was a massive reduction in sentences, punishments being made much lighter. So in other words, no one now will go to jail. If you were going to get 6 months, 9 months, whatever, that's cancelled. There will be no more sentences of less than a year, which is a tragedy. There'll be loads of community services, unpaid work. Apparently, you'll be banned from going to football matches, restrictions on social media use, tags, all this. Shavana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, absurdly calls it prison outside of prison. It's not. You either go to prison or you don't. So what we got here is much, much lighter punishments for crime. So it's softer on crime, softer on the causes of crime. It is a charter for crooks. You won't get punished nearly so harshly as in the past. That's what was really announced. And just to cover that up, they go, we're going to chemically castrate sex offenders. They won't. It's just headline hunting.
Thanks, Kev.
All right, John, good to talk to you, mate. Call me again. Now, let's quickly play another WhatsApp voice note. Alan on Lucy Connelly.
How can we live in a country where we haven't got enough prison places and at the same time lock someone up who's a normal person for sending a tweet that was deleted and probably shouldn't have been said, but at the end of the day, it was just a tweet. I feel like I'm living in a simulation at the moment with Keir running this place. With you, Alan, with you all the way. Let's play the last WhatsApp voice note, shall we? Tristan on the Chagos. It says Chagos and Net Zero, not necessarily connected, but they should be interesting. Take it away, Tristan.
I can't understand why we would choose to give away a territory and then pay to use it. It's utterly stupid. Two-tier kit is utterly, utterly stupid. And as we continue to impoverish ourselves with net zero, again, utterly stupid and no common sense or logic. If you didn't know, New Zealand has decided to revoke all net zero policies because guess what? They're fed up having high energy prices and being poor. Let's see if the stupid idiot Starmer wakes up like New Zealand have and decides to revoke net zero policies. I doubt it.
I doubt it too, Tristan, but we could be heading in an encouraging direction because it doesn't make any sense. Crazy Ed Miliband talks nothing but utter rubbish, and it's costing us a lot of money. And Keir Starmer, craven little man that he is, he just wants votes. So he's realising that net zero, landing us with the highest, the most expensive energy bills on the face of the earth. British energy bills are more expensive than anywhere else, 5 times more expensive than America. Keir Starmer is realising, you know, in his dimness, stupidity, as you said, Tristan, maybe that's not that popular. So I think maybe with a bit of luck we'll follow New Zealand, but don't count your chickens. Don't bet the farm on it. Don't bet the farm on it. The farm that's been ruined because Ed Miliband has covered that farm with solar panels. Solar panel farm, solar farm. They're not farms. They're covering fields, green fields, with basically an industrial solar panel factory. They're not farms, and they're scarring this country. So are those windmills, but hopefully we're going to win. But as for Chagos, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Let's go to break. More calls when we come back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, let's go back to the phone, shall we? Let's talk to Frank in Bristol. Hello, Frank. You want to talk about my favourite subject, chemical castration. What would you like to say?
Well, as we discussed once before, I did spend a little bit of time in a couple of places, and one was a D category open jail just outside of Bristol that was 87% of that nature.
Sorry, Frank, were you an inmate or you worked there? What was the deal?
No, you may remember I didn't pay me VAT.
Oh yeah, God Almighty, yeah, of course. yeah, what a super criminal. Yeah, you deserved your incarceration. Unbelievable. Anyway, tell me about what.
My defence was dyslexia.
Right.
You know, they said it's VAT. I thought it was FAT. Frank's had it taxed.
Well, listen, Frank. So we've got it on board. Why you want? Tell us about the people you met there.
Look, I have never in my life known egos like it.
What, the paedophiles?
The paedophiles. You never know.
Really? That's interesting. That you found them to be really egotistical, boasting type of people.
Absolutely.
Really?
Beyond comprehension, yeah. They are victims. They are not guilty of anything. They're all victims.
Yeah.
Those children wanted them.
Yeah, that's an old trope that they come up with, that the kids love it. Yeah. They don't.
You know, and there's a good friend of mine I played rugby with for 30-odd years. He was in the police force, and he worked on one of those specialist units, getting them.
Yeah.
And he said to me, look, there's only one cure. He said, you will never, ever cure them. There's one cure, it's a bullet in the head. He said, we can't do that, even though some of us would like to. He said, but I was there, and I won't repeat what I said to one of them when he tried to speak.
Yeah, don't.
And he came. He went and reported me, and they got. I never known that the system, if we call it that, will bend over backwards. To accommodate them.
We have in this country, we have a very, very strange attitude towards paedophiles. You know, you got the state broadcaster, the BBC, seems to hire them in their droves. You know, if you're a paedophile and you're looking for a job, apply to the BBC, they'll snap you up. They love hiring, you know, Jimmy Savile, Hugh Edwards, Tim Westwood, you name it. They're all out there. But anyway, there's that, and also the way we sentence them. You know, my big question tonight, Frank, is why is Lucy Connelly, you know, a loving middle-class mum who made a silly tweet, put a few nasty words on Twitter, why is she doing 31 months in jail when Hugh Edwards, the BBC's in-house child sex abuser, is walking free, didn't go to jail? We don't send paedophiles to jail. We don't send sex offenders to jail, or many sex offenders, many paedophiles don't get jail sentences, particularly pedos. First offence, it's almost policy they don't go to jail. And yet, we send people to jail for writing nasty, hurty words on social media. Something wrong there, Frank?
There's massive wrong, but when you say about the BBC, birds of a feather flock together. And there's, do you know John Wedger? Do you know John Wedger?
No.
He's an ex-Met policeman. He's got a channel of his own on YouTube.
Okay.
And he's a very, very interesting guy. You want to have a listen to him?
I will.
And he investigated. That was his sort of specialty as a police officer for many years, was getting those people.
It was yeah.
When he blew the whistle on people, he was now this is what he said on his channel. He was visited by two high-ranking police and said, if you don't shut your mouth, you'll be dead.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. There's something wrong about this nation's attitude to sex offenders generally, but particularly paedophiles. We go too easy on them, and I can't for the life of me work out why. It's kind of weird. Frank, thanks for that. Really interesting insight into those pedos that you're inside with. Thanks very much, mate. Call me again. Frank in Bristol. Let's go to our last set of commercials, and I'll talk to you again when we come back.
Where an offender is identified by the courts as being dangerous, they fall into one particular regime, which is about extended determinate sentences. And there, what happens at the moment is that you get a parole board hearing 2/3 of the way through your sentence. What we recommended, this is actually not something that the government is taking forward, is that if you behave well, you could bring that parole board hearing forward to halfway through your sentence.
UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is from David. He's David in the Cotswolds. He said, we don't give illegals 50 quid a week. We give them 40 quid a week, and a bike, and a bed, and a doctor, and a dentist, and 3 meals a day. I don't know about the bike and the bed and the doctor. Well, they're definitely the doctor and the dentist, but you're wrong, David. We actually give illegal migrants, when they come here, asylum seekers, £49 and 18p every single week. So it's 50 quid. It's not 40 quid. There you go. A fact for you. Now, let's. I think we still got some time to have a chat with some of you. I think Ash will be in fairly soon. It's Ash and Andre Walker tonight, taking you into the small hours from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. You have been warned. Ash will be in a second to tell you what they've got lined up for you. You don't want to miss their show. Very entertaining. Let's talk to Ray in Hampshire. Hello, Ray. You want to talk about Lucy Connelly?
I do, mate. It's Roy, actually.
Roy, I'm sorry. My mistake. I misread it.
That's all right, fella. Wouldn't it be lovely if we, for once in our life, we had a patriotic Prime Minister?
Oh, God, yeah, that's such a good point. This guy hates Britain. He doesn't like this country. His first instinct is to love the EU. It's to love the World Health Organization. It's to hand the Chagos Islands over to some foreign country that's best friends with China. He seems to work against Britain's interests, doesn't he?
Well, mate, by doing what he's done, what's Argentina? Are they going to want the Falklands back?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Gibraltar, look out for that.
Kevin, mate, I was in the Falklands, boy.
Were you?
And at the all finished, mate, I was there at the grave when we buried our soldiers.
Yeah, well, look, thank you for your service and respect, Roy. And what worries me is this guy, this Prime Minister, is just the kind of guy who will just hand those Malvinas, or whatever they're called, the Falkland Islands, back to Argentina, thereby disrespecting you and your brave fellow soldiers who fought for those islands all those years ago. This is the kind of thing he'll disrespect you. He will.
But Kevin, myself and my family, my old daddy was in the First World War. I had 3 uncles in the Second World War. One was at Al Alamein. He was also one of the first troops ashore D-Day morning. Uncle Doug, he was in Burma fighting the Japanese. And Uncle Derek, he was on the aircraft carrier, which got torpedoed. And they managed to repair her, and they had to sail her to Canada to get her repaired. And while all this is going on, mate, their old mum, my gran, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, she'd finished work. I don't know if you know Pimlico, Lupus Street.
I do, yeah, I know Pimlico, yeah.
Yeah. Well, in Claverton Street, she's having a nap at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and a doodlebug fell on the house.
Oh, my God. Was she all right?
At 7:30 at night, mate, she crawled out of there on her hands.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what we've done to our country.
Yeah, but you can't, Roy, your family is what this country should be all about. Your brilliant relatives, your brave relatives, and you as well, the brave guys, the brave boys who went down to fight for the Malvinas, for the Falkland Islands. You know, respect to you, and I just hope that this Prime Minister, this Britain-hating Prime Minister, doesn't disrespect your courage and in the end doesn't disrespect your dad's courage, your mum's courage and your uncle's courage. You see what I'm saying? Roy, I've got to move on. The show's nearly over, but that was a great call. Thank you very much. Please call me again. Roy in Hampshire there. He's in the studio. It's Ash. Hello,
yeah,
mate.
man. Yeah, great from Roy there. And disrespect the other day with they were doing the D-Day. Wasn't D-Day?
Oh, yeah,
it was the evacuation. And they moved them out of the way for 820
820, yeah. Get out of the way.
Migrants to get into their hotels without hesitation. Yeah, it's me and Andre. We've got Jess Gill, founder of the Women's Safety Initiative, talking all kinds of, loads of women's issues and other things. Should paedophiles be castrated? Well, it's only a chemical one, and it's sort of every few months, I think.
It's a smoke screen for what really happened today. They basically made all punishments a lot lighter.
Yeah, because I heard heard Alex saying earlier there's no room for them in the prisons, but if you say anything that the government don't like, they want to quell public protest. Yeah. And that's what that report said. There were no far right, but it succeeded in quelling freedom of speech. Literally said that's what it did.
Lies. Yeah.
All lies. We got Lois Perry, Director of Heartland Institute, talking about reforming the Scrap Climate Change Committee. Island of Strangers, we got Maya and Sentil Nathan. No, that's not a prescription. He's a bloke. He was a former candidate for reform. He's also a dentist. And Pete Barnes, your mate's coming on about the Island of Strangers. Enoch Powell, Keir Starmer, peas in a pod. But he was right, wasn't he, in the main?
So we had Lucy Connelly's husband on, Ray.
I saw that
earlier.
Absolutely outrageous.
That is a standing stain on British justice. It's an outrage.
Very cool. She had she's got a daughter of 13, very formative years, and she lost a baby the year before due to government negligence, the NHS. So of course she's going to. There's no compassion. Very evil.
No compassion. That's
no
exactly
compassion. She